This week in games, MultiVersus is getting shut down, BioWare is getting layoffs, and PlayStation State of Play this week, along with a retro review of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 237. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend, co-host, and description updater. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Description updater is an insult. I've decided.
You're updating the description.
Yeah, so why would you insult me and
but you're
minimizing my role in this podcast?
When I said I wanted to get going, and you took forever. You didn't write your stories the way you should have. It is what it is.
Because of late timing and alarms not going off.
Hey man, excuses are excuses. You know what I mean?
No, they're reasons. Excuses are what you give me when you exist every single fucking day, and I got to see your face.
Wow. Okay, this is how you want to start things off.
I mean,
this is how you want to start our fucking day.
No, this is the end of the day almost.
I'm about to slap the shit out of you in this Metal Gear Solid 3 review at the end of this episode. Because, of course, ladies and gentlemen, the Two Penny Gameclub is back. That's right. Your video game book club once a month thing that happens here at Two Penny Games, where we play a game in the background. In the beginning of each new month, we review it for you and rank it amongst the other games in the series. That's right. We're back. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, my personal favorite game of all time. Where does it rank in the list? How do Connor and Phil feel about it after a new playthrough? And will it be the new number one? Well, you'll have to stay tuned to find out, or just watch the breakout review over at youtube.com/@2pennygames, because this is, of course, the Two Penny Gamescast, where each week me and Connor come to you with the nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can catch the show live every Monday, twitch.tv/2pennygames in the afternoon, or Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Make sure to follow us on social media. Links are in the description down below. And make sure you drop a comment down below in order to get your 2 cents in on the podcast, and we can pull those up next week for you. We don't have anything this week because nobody said anything interesting. So I need you, the audience, to do better this week and drop your opinions down on each of the stories down below, or a feeling you felt about the Metal Gear Solid 3 review at the end of this episode. Connor, how's your week been, friend?
It's been a good week. I've been house sitting. Always nice. Always nice to get a little
So
ash injection.
You had a lot of free time, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hanging out?
I was very much hanging out.
Oh,
yes.
Good.
Now,
good.
As
far
far
a lot of time where you could have been writing stories.
Certainly would have been.
Yeah.
But, it wasn't that much, and I was like, I'm going to wait for later for more news to come out, which news did come out later.
You don't only have to write the stories that we read on the show. You can write as many stories as you want.
I know.
You can be up to date on the news as it happens, and then we can pick from the best at the end of the week. Because, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to read news stories out, and you can read them as well on twopennygamesnews.substack.com, link in the description down below, where Connor so eloquently writes all of our news stories, except for the last one this week. And hopefully in the future, maybe he'll write more stories than just the one.
Ooh, maybe I'll give you a little something, huh? And maybe I'll hide within those posts, because you can add images. It's on our Substack. A dick pic. Not for me. I would never do that.
Maybe don't do that.
I would never do that. My own.
Right.
But I do
maybe don't post other people's genitalia.
I'll do medical ones that look really weird and disgusting, but there's an educational purpose to it, so I can get away with it. Not perverted when it's science.
You could have done it on the topic that we cut for today's show about Donald Trump, because he got tiny wiener. Tiny wiener.
Yeah,
there was nudes that were leaked.
There was.
No, yeah, him standing naked in the mirror.
I don't think that's true. I think that was. I remember that happened once, but I thought that was that was the one I saw at least fake. I don't think we actually know what he's doing. Like, Bill Maher apparently has a big dick.
Good for Bill Maher.
Yeah. That's all he's got going for him. So
Bill Maher should stop being an old fucking boomer and, spreading acceptable racism.
Yeah, he should.
Through his faux liberal ways.
Yeah. He's very faux, that guy.
Very faux. Yeah. Bill Maher, you're not liberal.
Well, he is. Just
no, he's not.
Liberal's not as good as you think it is. You need to lower your expectations of how good a liberal is.
No, we need to call out bullshit when it happens.
Liberals don't often do that. They usually work within the system.
Bill Maher is a faker and a liar.
Yeah, he is.
That doesn't make him a liberal.
No.
Just because you call yourself something doesn't make you something.
He's a faker and a liar in regards to the liberal idea.
I can call myself president of the United States. Doesn't make me the president of the United States.
True. Well, you can make your own nation like solid as Big Boss does.
Oh, like Big Boss does. Yeah. We're gonna have a conversation about that later on in the review. I'm sure. Maybe we did. Maybe it became a little talking point of mine of how great Metal Gear Solid 3 is, because it's fucking the best game ever made. Watch the episode, find out. Does Connor think so? We don't know. I need one other motherfucker to think it's at least better than God of War Ragnarok.
Not gonna be Phil. Hades is on that list.
Hades is on that list. That's gonna be a tough hurdle for him to overcome. And arguably, Hades plays better. That's the one thing Hades does.
Better art style, art direction. Yeah, definitively.
2004.
So Okami was released back then. You don't have an excuse. Okami looks beautiful even now.
Really? When the white
Shadow of the Colossus?
Listen, you're not going. Hold on.
You can't bring up good examples.
No. I'm not letting you get that bullshit off. Metal Gear Solid 3 has a way better art style than Shadow of the Colossus. Everything in Colossus is just drab and brown.
In terms of color, but not like
that's
character models, not the environment, not the Colossus.
They look the fucking same.
Oh, it's all just realistic, huh? Well, add a little bit of realism, and you can't even. It's like you can't differentiate between shades of green.
Metal Gear at least has moments of oh man, we're going colorful here. We're gonna show you we're gonna get proud with the color here. Like Colossus, it's just brown and gray, and at the end a little bit of blue.
It's also green. You got nice fields and forests. You're ignoring them. Yeah, you're ignoring them.
No, it doesn't have nice fields and forests.
It does, yes.
Oh, it does have one forest, but that's only because of the Blue Point remake.
There was a forest in the original game too.
Yeah, but it wasn't pretty.
Fair enough.
Because that's one thing that I have against the remake is they didn't uphold the art design as well as they should have. Because that land is supposed to be dead, not supposed to be pretty.
Yeah,
the whole point of it. It's a forbidden land. It's an actual forbidden land.
But that's the whole thing is that forbidden lands are generally, idealistically they'd be pretty. They'd entice you.
No,
but they're forbidden.
It's a dead land.
But forbidden land is because, especially in the context of that game, it's because of the curses. So
curses.
It would make sense. It's more enticing for people to want to go there if it's also beautiful, in addition to the curse.
Snake Eater.
First story.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our first topic of the day, which is my first penny of the day. BioWare reduces staff following reconstruction efforts. Boy, that's a fucking downer after the fun conversation we were just having. Yep. Here we go. Of course, do you talk about it that we talked about it last week?
What?
The story that we covered last week about EA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Then I'll just dive into it here. BioWare General Manager Gary McKay announced company changes in a blog post last Wednesday, transferring staff to other teams at EA as the remaining employees will focus entirely on the next Mass Effect game. Quote, given this stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio, McKay writes. Quote, we have incredible talent here at BioWare, so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit. The post goes on to unveil original creators of the Mass Effect trilogy, such as Mike Gamble, Preston.
I was waiting for it.
Watamaniuk?
He looked white in his profile picture, so you don't have to feel bad about it, Tavin.
Preston, change your name.
It's iconic.
It's a bad fucking name, Preston.
You just can't pronounce it.
It's a bad fucking name. I would know my last name is Bothel.
But Watamaniuk is, I believe, how you say it.
Fuck, what?
Uh-oh.
We moved, Connor.
Yeah, we did move. Well, guys, for those of you that saw the beginning of this, sorry that we're not in frame properly. Some people can't do their job. Even then he was, sitting here for quite some time while I was doing other actual work. He still just didn't notice it. A little bit of left look, a little look to the left, and he would have known. But we can't all be as perfect as me. By the way,
Connor, I can't fix you.
It's okay. I just need to move over, and then I'm golden.
Does that affect this one? Oh, no, it actually makes it perfect.
There we go. Look at that.
Wait, am I fucked?
No, see? There we go.
All right.
See, I was going to go into the conversation we had earlier this morning, the accusations I was leveling against you, because it's funny, but it's best I don't. They're not actual accusations. They're phony ones.
Oh, though? Oh, yeah. No, let's not say that on air.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
The post goes on to unveil original creators of the Mass Effect trilogy, such as Mike Gamble, Preston Terrible Name, Jarek Watts, and Parrish Lay, are leading development in the Untitled game. What an inappropriate story for me to be making this joke on. Sorry, Preston.
Also, by the way, I shouldn't have mentioned he was white because I feel like you would have been like, sorry, or something submissive and weak and lowly.
I said his name was terrible before you said that, no? Maybe
no, afterwards.
IGN reports a, quote, smaller number of Dragon Age staff were laid off and encouraged to apply at other positions in the company. A preliminary third fiscal quarter report from EA last week included a statement that Dragon Age the Veilguard failed to reach company expectations by 1.5 million. On a August 2023 blog post, 50 roles were terminated as McKay declared a shift to, quote, a more agile and more focused studio, something McKay repeated at the end of the most recent post. A Rolling Stones interview previously highlighted BioWare's commitment to the Mass Effect franchise over other properties, as no DLC was to be forthcoming following Veilguard's release. The named veterans hold varying degrees of experience in the creation of past Mass Effect entries. Gamble served as a producer on Mass Effect Andromeda. Watts was art director on the first Mass Effect, while Watamaniuk and Lay both contributed to the original trilogy as lead designers and cinematic animator, respectively, with Lay being elevated to lead cinematics animator following the first Mass Effect.
So this is not as dour as it could have been, because when I was first seeing it, I was like, oh, layoffs. There were some, but they weren't. There was no stated
Approximately
number.
50 people lost their jobs.
That was from last time. That was from 2023.
Oh, but I mean, still like moved over. And it also, you kind of paint with a nice brush here. When they were reassigned, they were like reassigned with the intention of it only being temporary, and it turned into more of like a permanent reassignment. Like when they moved to a different team.
Oh, with this recent story.
Yeah, so they reduced roles and they moved them over, saying, "Hey, this is only gonna be a temporary thing. You just gotta go work on the next Madden game or whatever, just for a little bit, you know, but you'll come back." And then this happened. It's like, hey, you're not coming back, by the way.
Well, I don't think that's entirely true, because it specified. I only know that because IGN.
I thought it was one of the things.
Was
one of the credible news sites said that. How dare you? How dare you attack my ability to read a fucking article?
I mean, you missed up with the whole one from the 2023 layoffs, and then you have an error, a human error that could be factored in here, Tavin. Far be it from me to call it out for you.
This is unfortunate. Might be actually healthy for BioWare in the long run, but maybe we want BioWare to be smaller. But also, Connor, we might need to have the conversation. If Mass Effect fails, do we see the end of BioWare? Is it over?
The problem is, I feel like even if sales aren't, it's all about those things we always talk about, expectation. Because clearly their money's all on that, as far as BioWare is concerned. And honestly, EA seems like they really want that to work, so they can probably continue to have BioWare as a studio. But I feel like the only reason those things, Mass Effect, and then we don't know if it's called Mass Effect 4 or whatever the fuck it's called, but whenever that comes out, it's impossible to not have a lot of sales. So I think what really matters is whether you're going to reach the sales that you want to do. Because people have been waiting for a Mass Effect game for quite some time. It's kind of what people were wanting BioWare to go back to, it being their flagship series. And there was a bit of a resurgence in how people think of BioWare with Veilguard, not by the greatest degree, not as much as it should have had. Some of those being unfair reasons, some of them reasonable ones. But I feel like it really is just reliant on their expectations. And if they don't meet those, I don't think BioWare has much of a future anymore, due to the fact they just haven't been able to hit it out of the park like they used to. We were going through numbers, I think it was after we covered that story, of 1.5 million seeming like a pretty good amount, but based off their past entries, it's not that great. Even smaller ones, and we talked about it in the Metal Gear Solid review that we've already done, that the Metal Gear Solid Collection almost got the same level of sales as Veilguard did. Probably not the best thing you want for an old game that's redone ports of the game that already came out and almost get the same level of numbers as Veilguard, especially with how much they were wanting Veilguard to succeed.
I don't think that's 100% fair when comparing it to Metal Gear Solid, which also has a hungry fan base that is willing to take anything at this point, right? Or especially, yes, lazy ports, 100%. I agree with you on that. But rather that than fucking nothing, and those specific games are the ones they we wanted in the first place. So yeah, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection was going to sell a bunch of numbers. Now, it's impressive both for the collection and unfortunate for Dragon Age that, those sales numbers are pretty close. 1.2, I believe, was for the Master Collection, 1.3?
1.2, I think.
I think it was 1.3 for the Master, 1.2 for the HD Collection. Especially because, we lost things like backwards compatibility, just had no way to play them on other consoles, and things like Metal Gear Solid 1 being available on Xbox for the first time and things like that. If I have that correct, I'm pretty sure I did.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, not 100% a fair comparison, but you are apt in saying that, a collection of a bunch of old games managed to catch up in sales and be, comparable to a brand new RPG from BioWare, a brand new Dragon Age game from BioWare. Now, arguably, Veilguard didn't hit what it probably should have hit. There's a number of reasons for that,
Also, I feel like games that came out this year, because the other number I keep thinking of is Inquisition. Inquisition, in like 3 months, it had like 4 million players or some number like that. Certainly exceeded what they have now.
That came out early in the year, right? And it came out...
I think, it came out later, I believe.
In a bit of a dead period?
That was the point I was going to make, which is that came out where it won Game of the Year, not because it was so great that it was definitive all the way through, but because the other games were somewhat lacking.
Yeah.
So, but even given that, that's still a large number in comparison to this.
Yeah.
Which, and I recall, no one was really talking about Veilguard after it came out. It didn't, besides
it had its splash and we moved on quickly.
Yeah. And
it was the victim of the new, DEI, and then, we moved on.
Yeah, but not even that. That was more Concord when I think of, like, people using that as a criticism.
I think those are two separate beats.
They are, but that's why I'm like, it doesn't seem like...
Oh, no, Dragon Age got the DEI treatment.
Yeah, I only saw people complaining about the trans stuff in the game. Which, the only issue with that is that the writing was not actually good.
Tomato there, or whatever, but,
But then that kind of becomes... Obviously, there are people who are going to only hate on that game because of its trans elements, but it's kind of equaled out by the fact that it just, as you even said yourself, wasn't good and was really a bad drawdown of the game.
Yes, the trans character is not a well-written character, but the inclusion of those elements are not why the game is bad.
Wasn't that like part of the attribution of it doesn't seem like it fits well within the confines of the story. It's shoehorned in there. And we're at least not done with
I think it's that thing that we had a conversation off air about, and I want to tread as lightly as we can here. It's a conversation we had off air about how trans people being in fantasy worlds feels strange because it's such a modern ideal, and we often attribute fantasy games to being in the past, even though that, we're allowing magic, but we're not allowing people who actually feel a certain way to express themselves that way. It doesn't logically make sense. Like, you should be allowed to allow people to, pick whatever fucking pronouns they want, because those are just words at the end of the day. So what does it matter if you're in a fantasy or not? But there is an element of it's a little odd seeing it in a fantasy world. I think it's just a matter of we just haven't seen that in enough fantasy stories to become comfortable with it. So it's just new and it just feels like it's out of water. And again, I don't think that subject was handled well in the writing, in the character dialogue of it. But I think overall, it's not that big of a deal. And a lot of the things of oh, you can be trans. I'm who the fuck cares?
Trans people.
Well, yeah, yes. I was aiming that at bigots why do you care so much? And I refuse to believe trans people are the reason Dragon Age the Veilguard failed. Dragon Age the Veilguard failed because it diverted from the Dragon Age formula. It was a different art style, different tone, different thing. It had a very bad marketing campaign. And it's from a failing EA, because this was not the only game this year by EA that failed to meet expectations.
One of their flagship titles, the
Football Club.
It has such a stupid fucking name. Yeah, Football Club 2025.
FIFA took the title back.
I know.
So, what are we going to do?
Something that's not just bad. Not bad.
They should have just called it EA Football Club. It's EA Sports FC, and that's that. Now we got too many things going on in it, But that failed as well. So it's just across the board, things are failing. The industry is suffering in a time of suffering right now.
Yep.
And on top of that, the Veilguard, as a game, was not the most impressive game in the world. That has nothing to do with the subject matter of what's in the game. It's just the game itself wasn't awesome. It was good.
I only bring up the subject matter because that's the only time I heard people talk about it. People weren't talking about how great the story was, or the characters, or the combat.
Because they were fine.
Yeah, they were fine.
Across the board, they were fine. You know, some people liked it more than others, and some people disliked it more than others, you know? But I think overall, whatever fucking score it has on OpenCritic, 81 or 79
I think
or whatever.
79.
So, some shit like that. High 70s, low 80s, where it's just like yeah, that feels about right. You know, like it's an all right game. And, you know, though last year was not as flagship as other years that we've had in past, last year was still a competitive year, especially for RPGs. RPGs specifically had a flagship year, I would say, between Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring DLC, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. There's another one I'm missing off the tip of my tongue. Persona 3 Reload, Metaphor ReFantazio.
Elatro! Ah! The guy driving the car. I love that meme.
What?
Elatro.
Okay. But it was a very highly competitive year for RPGs. Dragon Age came out in a busy time of the year for whatever reason. Imagine if they pushed it to January, bro. Still in the fiscal year, would have done numbers. It would have done numbers, you know? And so, but for whatever reason, they wanted it to hit last year, and so that's when it hit, is last year. Maybe they just ran out of funding, or they weren't willing to fund it for another couple of months or whatever. And just overall, like, the game is just okay.
Yeah.
And BioWare, not exactly on a hot streak right now, you know?
And we had said a lot of times leading up to it, it can't just be okay. It has to be, like, really good.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Yeah.
You know, but it never even got really close to that at all.
No.
So
yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Like, listen, a step in the right direction from what we had from even in Mass Effect Andromeda, which was an okay game, but it was
sold better.
It sold better because it just came off of a Game of the Year winner and one of the greatest trilogies in video game history. That's why it sold better. We are now past that massive disappointment. Anthem was one of the biggest flops of all time. And then the only profitable thing that you had was a collection of what you already did that was great. Yeah, man, like, people don't have faith in the studio anymore. Now, is that lack of faith misplaced? I would argue a little bit, yes. But you can't argue that the mainstream, at least the level of mainstream that you get where you still know what a development studio is and you know who BioWare is, but the level of, like, people who know BioWare don't trust BioWare anymore. I don't think that's fair to BioWare. I think EA fucked that studio up really heavily. I think we're now, what is the ship where if you replace all the wood, it's no longer the same ship?
Theseus' ship.
Theseus' ship?
Mm-hmm.
I think BioWare is Theseus' ship now because everybody who's there, for the most part, is not who they used to be, right? Yeah. Not when BioWare was great. But I think if you look at BioWare right now, and if it didn't, if Dragon Age the Veilguard didn't have the name Dragon Age the Veilguard and BioWare attached to it, we would have looked at that game and been like, not bad, pretty good. You know, but because it was attached to BioWare, it was attached to Dragon Age, we looked at it and go, you're not meeting expectations, both in sales and player expectations of level of quality.
Mm-hmm. And I think all of those things you just said, particularly with its impact not as prevalent at all from the days of the original Mass Effect trilogy, bringing back people that were key figures on that project, and there's other ones that didn't even name. I hope that's their path to success, to reclaim that lost spark that's been gone, and that they
can't tell you the number of headlines I've read over the past 7 years of BioWare bringing back series veteran to do this, that, and the third. Like they did that for they brought Casey Hudson back for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work, you know, and then he was there for Anthem. I think I have my facts wrong. Maybe he came back for Anthem, but he was there for Anthem. You know, it's like, great, one guy. Sure, one guy could do a lot, especially when in a leadership position. But, you know, BioWare is a different studio than it was 10 years ago. It's a dramatically different studio now. And I wish we, the public, could hold them to a different standard.
Well, wait for Mass Effect to come out.
Here's what I'll say. If Mass Effect fails, I don't see BioWare closing, but I could see them rebranding.
The different types of games, not like, okay, no more AAA games.
I think you scrap the BioWare name.
Really, that bad? I don't think they'll do that. I think they would, if anything, just reduce, because BioWare, at that point, I feel like the issue is like, okay, you guys can't make games on the scale you're trying to make. Lower that down a bit.
But then you have the branding issue. The issue of brand new BioWare game. People will always think Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age 1, Mass Effect Trilogy.
Yeah.
Like, that is what they think when they hear BioWare. And there's not, like, you just can't meet that standard anymore. So take that expectation off of yourselves. There's a reason 343 is no longer 343 in their Halo Studios now. You know,
Halo Studio.
Yeah, you missed that. You weren't on the podcast for that week, but that was a big news thing. You should know that off the top of your head. They're Halo Studios now.
Kind of late to that.
Huh?
Kind of late to that.
I agree.
Anything.
I agree, but it is what it is. They did a whole marketing trailer for it. You should watch it. It's pretty optimistic. Makes you feel good.
I hope I'm gonna feel good in reality.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think if Mass Effect fails, BioWare should rebrand.
I still think that's not the best decision.
Because they're also not. It's not even the same people anymore.
Yeah, it's not. But at the same time, BioWare. First of all, with the 343, your name's already not really good, so it's not the worst thing to change it. BioWare, not only is it cemented, but it's also a good name for it. But the reason why is you have those old games that you talked about that give the good feelings of when you think BioWare. But the fact that they specifically have tried to make those same exact games again and they can't do it, if you were just to shift it to smaller scale projects that aren't these vast open world things, they can still be AAA if they're not.
Can the public accept a smaller BioWare game? I don't think they can.
I think they can because I think they want good games, not. And this is also a time where people aren't demanding for longer games; they're demanding for shorter games. BioWare was at a time; they are. I mean, most of the time when you ask somebody how 50-hour long games.
I think people in our circle feel that way.
But it's even gone beyond that because other people, they generally don't want to constantly play 50-hour long games, only one. And it's so saturated now with games that are just of better quality and aren't just reaching the heights or trying to reach the heights that, Mass Effect has already let slip by. So maybe you just tone down your scale and the games you can make will be so quality because there are good people who work at BioWare that they'll be able to focus not on doing a bunch of basically useless side content like Veilguard might have that you don't care about and make very specifically tailored gameplay experiences to an audience that's always going to enjoy your game.
I generally agree with you, but I don't agree with you on the audience perspective. I mean, they just complained that Astrobot was too short to be Game of the Year or whatever.
Who did?
The people.
But I think most people were more on the platformer, what's so special about this? Or the main issues people had with it being
runtime came up in the.
But I don't think it was so forward that it justifies that's what the general populace wants based off just Astrobot. I feel like when you go to most game by game basis, they're looking for 20-hour long games, not 40, 51.
20 hours is still a long time.
But not in the same way of a Mass Effect or BioWare has been within most of their games where you spend hours upon hours upon hours.
Most Mass Effect games run about 25 hours.
I mean, if you were to Golden Path it, but...
Not even. You can
Veilguard has... That's the thing. Not Andromeda. Andromeda was certainly past 20 hours.
Yeah. Andromeda was 30 plus.
And Veilguard is also past it as well.
Veilguard's 30 plus.
Yeah, so in today's day when they're making games, they can't make them as long as they used to.
Yeah, I'm 20-something hours into Veilguard, and I'm nowhere near the end.
Yeah, and it seems like it's not even wrapping up. We're getting to the point where it's wrapping up.
No. I wouldn't even... I think I'm a quarter into the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a third, if I'm lucky.
I just think... They don't need to get rid of the name. If they are going to downsize, they should just try harder.
I just think the name levies too heavy of an expectation on them. But I also don't have faith in EA that they'll do that. The pessimist in me says EA shuts down BioWare if Mass Effect 5 or whatever doesn't hit.
Oh, I mean, I care about things that exist for long periods of time. Game Informer when it got shut down, BioWare as I'm arguing for it now.
Yeah.
The people who make these decisions couldn't be paid to care. No, they could be because they're greedy. But you would have to pay them to care. Otherwise, BioWare, is it making us money? Okay, it's not. Fuck it. No, that's all they give a shit about. So, yeah.
Then what studio does EA have that you're like, premier EA studio? Fucking Battlefield.
Battlefield did get a little bit of a little trailer released.
They're getting a technical test.
Yeah.
You know the things I think about as someone who produces this show, Connor?
What's that?
God, you look bigger in frame than me.
Isn't it sometimes different, though, and you sometimes look bigger?
Well, yeah, it all depends on, how I size up the frame.
Perspective.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't like this anymore.
I didn't like how small I looked next to you, you know?
Yes, a little bit
I would rather you be smaller than me.
I know you would. I know you would.
Some would say you are smaller.
And some say would be wrong because I'm not small. I'm not smaller.
How do you know?
We've height. We're not hot.
I'm not talking height, Connor. I'm moving on to topic number 2.
Of course.
Moving on to topic number 2, Connor. Your first penny of the day. Another bit of a downer, but we're gonna move on. It's gonna be a downer, and then a who cares, and then something exciting. So stick with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Who cares for that third story?
Yeah,
You're
who
gonna
cares?
Eat your words. You're gonna eat your words. But
I'm sure I will.
Warner Bros. MultiVerse to shut down online services. Platform fighter MultiVersus online functions will cease on May 30th upon conclusion of the soon-to-start Season 5 and be delisted from online stores, prompting outrage from fans. Season 5 starts tomorrow. Starts tomorrow. And this is what they're hitting their fans with. MultiVersus director...
Why the fuck would I buy it if nobody else can buy it?
Isn't it free? Is it still...
I think it's like a $20 game, isn't it?
Yeah, they change stupid things.
They're gonna delist it at the end of Season 5, so even if you like it, you can't even fucking play it?
You can play offline if you have it already, but yeah.
Fucking hell.
It makes no goddamn sense. MultiVersus director and co-founder of developer Player First Games, PFG, Tony Hun, I'm assuming those are silent. I think the Y is most likely silent,
right.
I'm going to say. Took to X, formerly Twitter, writing, quote, "While I'm sad about the outcome, I will forever be grateful for the opportunity given to us by Warner Bros. Games and to each and every developer on the Player First Games and WB Games team. Also to every IP holder, thank you for entrusting us with your babies. We hope we made the characters true to themselves and felt authentic to your fans. I couldn't be prouder of the work the PFG team did," end quote. In the same post, Hun goes on to apologize for, quote, "not addressing things sooner," while urging restraint in reactions to the shutdown, insinuating threats have been made towards staff. Quote, "I know that this is painful for everyone, and I know every member of PFG feels it too, but I have to call this out. You're entitled to what you say and think, but when there are threats to harm, it's crossing the line," end quote. In a 2024 financial call with Warner Bros. President, CEO David Zaslav, a.k.a. The Devil, and Chief Financial Officer Gunnar...
He didn't write that.
No, he did not.
That was an ad-lib.
And Chief Financial Officer Gunnar Wiedenfels. They stated an extra $100 million was added to the $200 million write-down. Quote, "We took another $100 million plus impairment due to the underperforming releases, primarily MultiVersus this quarter, bringing total write-down year-to-date to over $300 million in our games business. A key factor in this year's studio profit declined," Weidenfeld said. MultiVersus began in early access in June 2022, only to be temporarily removed in June of 2023, massively upsetting fans, particularly those who have spent money on microtransactions. The full game would be released on May 28, 2024, with peak player count in May being 114,403 players. That would dwindle to 1,126 players by January 2025. Peak player count prior was 153,044. So the big thing that happened with MultiVersus...
still doing better than Concord.
They are. Not a high bar. And that game closed in 2 weeks, so this just floated you for a little bit.
It's a good game. It was your fault.
Yeah, and marketing and current inability to read markets. But aside from that, they made probably one of the... We've had some of the biggest blunders in the games industry happen in only the past couple of years. One of them was, while MultiVersus was doing good, people were spending money on the game, opinion was high, they took it off early access. Early access being the entire reason why you can have a game be released, but updated as you go on. They decided to do that behind closed doors, completely ruining the momentum that game had. And by the time it came back, it just never held that player base in the same way the game had remained prior to that. It confounded everybody at the time, and clearly removing it didn't save the game. It's failing now, and
I think this result was inevitable, but they didn't do themselves any favors.
They did not, and once again, what could have happened, we'll never know, because they took it off and screwed over their goodwill.
It's just the story could have been one of, oh man, Multiverse, great success when it started, and then it faded and eventually had to shut down. There's plenty of stories like that. Knockout City is one of hey, we saw great success, but it's time to close it down. We're moving on. That could have been this game's story, but instead they took it offline, and so now the story is, oh, you fucked up.
And if you had kept it on, you would have still at least had money coming in from it, even if it's not performing as well.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been not making any money, only to come out the oven still underperforming. The game didn't get worse by all accounts. There's probably, I'm not too in depth into the fan beliefs in how microtransactions work. Obviously, they were upset when it was first taken off the store. Many people are probably upset now that they'll no longer be able to do anything with it. But I don't know if the general player base was dissatisfied with the state of the game, or if it really is just because people had lost interest due to it being removed. While I don't know that, Warner Bros., they've made also some questionable decisions recently, such as the Wile E. Coyote film that everyone seemed to have wanted and was excited about. They canceled it for a tax
video
write-off.
game they've put out in the last 4 years.
Yes, they have not done themselves any service whatsoever.
Remember when Shadow of War didn't really perform that well, and so WB was looking to sell off their games department to somebody, and then the story is that the offers that they got back inspired them to keep going. So then we got Gotham Knights, and then we got Suicide Squad, and then we got MultiVersus, and then we got something else that they've done in the last couple of years or whatever, and all of those are failures. Wow. You really nailed it, Zaslav. Thanks. You could have just made a quick buck and moved on. You're definitely not getting the same shit now. Well, no, you got Batman. You're still getting the same shit. Yeah, this is unfortunate. We do need to pause and say it is absolutely unacceptable to levy any type of threat of violence or harm to people who are not in control of these decisions. And, being a good person would cause me to say it's not good to threaten harm or enact harm on anybody. I really like Luigi, man.
I knew you were gonna fucking say.
He's a great character.
Just
He's
one
so great.
note pony.
He's great. Green hat. It's so great. I love Luigi.
Well,
I like to play as him in the Mario games when I can play as him. When I played Mario Wonder, I played as Luigi.
I hope the people that are complaining about these guys are not fans of Luigi. I hope they don't kill anybody. That's what I was trying to say.
I hope they don't kill anybody. I would not wish death on any random person, Connor. That would be cruel. Especially someone who was working in a studio and was just trying to put in their best efforts. Like, no, you shouldn't threaten any form of violence on them. That's a bad thing to do.
Do you know who else was in their studio doing the thing you just said they were doing?
Huh.
I can't word it again.
What are you saying?
I was gonna bring it to the guy, the freak that was stealing breast milk from the fridge at Blizzard, but that's an old story now, and he's probably
these are definitely clips that in 10 years are going to work against me. These are 100% are clips that are working against me in 10 years.
And they might work against you now.
Hey, it is what it is. I'm small enough to where I can get away with it.
Mm-hmm. That guy doesn't. What's he doing? He's got a dog. That's the most significant thing about him. Who cares?
Shout out Phil in the chat.
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Random. Oh, you did. Yeah.
Remember, random. Yeah, no, I would not wish death on any random person. That's not cool. That's not okay. That's a person. Anyways, this sucks. I don't foresee WB's games branch having much success in the near future. I don't, which is very scary because they're one of the biggest publishers in the game. So that would be very, very unfortunate. I would also extra hate it if they sold it off finally and it went to a Tencent or Embracer or Embracer might be done actually. Or, but if it went, to someone like that would also really, really suck to see. I'm hoping for the best for the employees and for everybody involved whose livelihood depends on these giant decisions. But it's hard to turn a ship around, and this ship has set sail a while ago.
Mm-hmm. We're off into the mainland, into the mist.
Did you miss your Metal Gear Solid 3 review? You did, but it will be up on our YouTube channel later tonight. So make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/@2pennygames. Again, youtube.com/@2pennygames. The @ symbol there. Moving on, Connor, to topic number 3, your second penny of the day. Go ahead, take it away, my friend.
I was getting the time code, and you just kept talking, and I had to change it.
Luigi.
It was even after that. Film adaptations of Sleeping Dogs and Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Let me pause you real quick. Phil, in the chat, if you want to link the reviews for Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 into the chat, we have reviews for Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 up on the channel right now. So you can watch those while you're waiting for the MGS3 review to hit. Subscribe.
There we go. Well, film adaptations of Sleeping Dogs and Claire Obscure Expedition 33 in development. 2 new film adaptations of video games have been announced this past week from Square Enix's Sleeping Dogs and Kepler's Interactive's yet-to-be-released Claire Obscure Expedition 33, with media company Story Kitchen spearheading their projects. Only 3 weeks following an official cancellation of an adaptation of Sleeping Dogs announced back in 2017, star of Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Simu Liu, responded to an X, formerly Twitter, user's plea for the actor to comment on his viability starring in the leading role, posting, quote, working with the rights holders to bring Sleeping Dogs to the big screen, end quote. Little did we know. Liu would make a subsequent post the following day expressing his desire for a movie to kickstart production of a video game sequel. Liu writes, quote, so few film projects make it from pitch phase to greenlight. Pitching execs who don't understand the game has been tiring. Everyone's overwhelming love of Sleeping Dogs here has really given us life. First a movie, then a sequel game for everyone. That's always been the dream, end quote. While speculation on the validity of Liu's aspirations continued, IGN reports by way of a source close to the project that the development is currently underway, with Liu set to produce and star in the leading role. Story Kitchen, who worked on the Sonic the Hedgehog film series and adaptations in the Tomb Raider franchise, is reportedly leading the project, while the cinematizing of games It Takes Two, Streets of Rage, and Just Cause are ongoing as well. In addition to Sleeping Dogs, Variety reports a live-action film adaptation of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is in production from Story Kitchen, with the current focus being, quote, casting and directorial decisions, end quote. Clair Obscur is set in a fantastical fictional world inspired by France's Belle Epoque, a period of French history from 1871 to 1914, where an annual expedition to cease a yearly eradication of persons in a specified age group sets off. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was recently a part of Microsoft's 2025 Developer Direct, where it showcased a wondrous setting and a strong focus on crafting a deep, emotionally resonant narrative. Story Kitchen was launched in 2022 by Sonic the Hedgehog producer Dimitri M. Johnson and TV film IP agent Mike Goldberg from the independent artist group AIG, then known as the Agency for Performing Arts, APA. So the weird thing about
also worth noting, Beyond Two Souls, Quantic Dream's Beyond Two Souls, getting a TV adaptation
from Elliott Page's production, Page something, which was I double checked because I forgot about that announcement. The weird thing is that Story Kitchen is in charge of all of these projects, and yet they only came about in 2022. Now, they have industry backing. They're from people who have worked in the industry of adaptations of video games into movies. But it's really weird that all of a sudden, just tons of projects are being put onto their lap. You know, from the Tomb Raider stuff to working to a degree on the Sonic the Hedgehog films to other adaptations of Streets of Rage, It Takes Two, and now Clair Obscur. Very weird decisions for what you're going to adapt. You would think you'd go for things that are far more tested, and that's clearly what has been done in the past, with the most famous ones being things like the Resident Evil franchise.
Granted, Streets of Rage, Sleeping Dogs, you can kind of picture that movie as a dope brawler action movie.
Conceptually, it makes sense. Yeah. It's just in addition to the games that aren't yet on those levels and aren't provenly proper things to be made into film. You know,
who's asking for this?
Nobody.
Really. Like, listen, I played Sleeping Dogs. I like Sleeping Dogs. I didn't play it all the way through, but I played a good amount of hours of it. It's a good game. You should play it if you haven't played it. Guys, we need to let it go. Listen, it was cool. It was dope. I like seeing it. This is not an IP that we need to attach ourselves to.
The absolutely pathetic thing, Tavin, is this is cult appreciation. And you're acting like this is mainstream appreciation. And you just got to beat them down more. The whole thing about being cult fans of something is that you don't have chance on your side. You don't have the grounds to be optimistic. So you're happy when you get it.
We don't have a Metal Gear Solid movie, and you motherfuckers want a goddamn Sleeping Dogs movie?
It's more impressive because Sleeping Dogs is getting all of this without being Metal Gear Solid. It's a relatively obscure game that's
also,
being able...
I want to know, what is Simu Liu's connection to this? Why does he care so much? He just played the game and liked it? He's not in the game. I just checked.
No, he's not. He's going to be planning on doing the leading role.
He just likes Sleeping Dogs?
Yeah. I mean, it is a Chinese-focused game. He clearly does care a lot about
Chinese?
That. He should be, yeah. Yeah. The thing about Liu, though, is that he had
Liu or Liu?
I think it's Liu.
I don't know.
Liu. I'm not the best with Asian names, with Chinese names particularly.
Thanks for the help. Phil just says Asian in the chat. Thanks. Appreciate it.
The guy who can look it up. He was kind of weird because there was like a Reddit. He was found to be connected to a Reddit account where I might be butchering this because it wasn't like he was sexually harassing anybody, but he was on like I think he was talking bad about Asian people or something. No, he was acting kind of like a white supremacist, but not a white supremacist. It was really weird.
There's a lot of context we're missing here, Connor.
I'll say you would think from the account that he was white, he was Asian. Right. And I like it was a weird story. It wasn't like
people fuck around on the internet all the time.
They do.
Doja Cat got in a lot of trouble for it, you know?
See, that's something I don't know about.
Yeah, she got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, besides his Asian connection, I don't really see the big reason why he'd be advocating for this other than being a fan for the game, which is the only thing I can believe. It's just really weird that they canceled it just a little bit ago, and now they're like, oh, well, here's this other plans that are being made with different people involved. Why? You'd think those things would be, those conversations would happen simultaneously, not kind of seemingly separate. No, of course, a lot of this stuff has been behind closed doors, so we don't really know the full development of how all of this has gone on.
Phil says Chinese.
Chinese, so I was right, yeah. I guess they would have been weird making him a Chinese character, a very definitively Chinese character.
Hollywood not cares about them looking right.
They definitely do now.
Yeah.
You know, the weird one's Clear Obscura. Why? Hey,
listen, we're excited for that game.
And it looks like narrative is going to be a big feature of that game, and you can translate that over to movies, but
why?
Why? Yeah, why that specifically? A lot of games have good narratives.
Yeah.
And, this one...
You're telling me we're getting this before we're getting fucking Dragon Age or Final Fantasy or what? I was thinking about this. Final Fantasy, if you're doing a film adaptation, you should probably just do 7, right? That one makes the most sense. I mean, I guess maybe 16 or something if you wanted to do one of the new ones or whatever.
6 is like...
10.
6 is really good because you have a lot of different characters and you can have multiple things. You switch to like story beat to story beat to story beat and change characters alongside it.
But also, what would you call it? You can't call it Final Fantasy.
No.
Well, I mean, you could. That would be a very bad marketing decision to call it Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 6 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know if you're able to call it.
I think you would just call it the Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy, and if you do sequels,
I feel like you find a title for it. One Winged Angel quote or colon a Final Fantasy story.
Sounds worse. I hate that. I hate that, especially by the way, where it's like so and so story. Like just like even if it's true, why is that in part of the title or part of the marketing?
I don't know, because you want to attach it to the IP, but like
they still do that with Star Wars.
Final Fantasy as a name does not sell tickets.
No.
Right, but Star Wars started as Star Wars. It didn't start as Star Wars A New Hope.
What's happened? You say that it doesn't sell tickets. Will this or so?
No,
I think less.
No,
so it doesn't seem like that's the concern here.
We've been saying up and down for months. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is a bad name.
It is a bad name.
That's a bad name for your video game.
Expedition 33. Just do that.
Claire Obscure alone would have been fine. It's both of them that I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Is those
Expedition 33 is better.
Yeah, it is, but yeah, we'll see what the quality is. They're far out. There's this big sweep of trying to make more adaptations of video games. Now that we've had Sonic be successful, Mario especially successful, being the #1 best-selling video game adaptation. And so clearly they're just going to ride this for the next couple fucking years.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's working, work it. But this is a weird switch. Sleeping Dogs also so much more violent than either of your other properties. So. Fucking strange. Moving on to our final topic of the day. My final penny. PlayStation is reportedly prepping a February state of play for Valentine's Week. This is an article that we're pulling from VGC by Andy Robinson. Why, Connor?
Because I didn't get woken up by my alarm.
Sony will stream its next state of play presentation later this month, it's been claimed. That's according to Gaming Insider. Nate the Hate, who's just on a fucking hot streak lately, who frequently reveals information on the games industry and ahead of official announcements. According to the user, PlayStation's next live stream is arriving in February. Asked by an ex-user for more exact timing info on the state of play, the insider dropped a strong hint that it would take place on the week commencing February 10th. What does that mean, week commencing February 10th?
Well, February 10th is on Monday, so that entire week. Like, that's the beginning of the week.
Is that what
so
commencing means? What does commencing mean? I don't know what
commencing means. Like, the following. Like
the beginning of February 10th, anytime after that.
I'll bring up the textbook definition so there was no mistake.
Fantastic. I'm going to finish reading the thing here. Sony regularly puts out a state of play in January or February to reveal some of the titles it's planning to release during the first half of the calendar year. Last January, a state of play featured deep dives on Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin, plus looks at Death Stranding 2, Silent Hill 2. In February 2023, a state of play focused on third-party titles such as Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Sony is planning to publish Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei in 2025, while Marvel's Wolverine and Fair Games don't yet have release windows. This week, Sony announced its intention to shift away from offering PS4 games as part of its monthly PS Plus offerings, starting in 2026. Offering, quote, PlayStation 4 games will no longer be a key benefit, end quote, of the service, with Sony instead turning its focus to providing PlayStation 5 titles. How many of those are you going to get, you know, before you get fucking, the console doesn't have any fucking video games, you know what I mean?
I know. You hate that. You get triggered.
I hate it so much. You fucking gamers are entitled to shit.
Tavin's triggered. Look at him triggered.
All right. PlayStation, state of play, set for February. I could have told you that last week, all right? But this gives us an excuse to talk about it, Connor.
Commence means to start. That was a better way to sum that up.
To start. Yeah. Okay. All right. To start.
It was a weird way you said that.
Okay. So probably not on February 10th next week, Monday. Probably on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. These things usually happen on a Tuesday or Thursday, but, you know, we'll see.
Definitively, we're seeing Wolverine. I have no doubt in my mind.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think so, too. You know what? Might even get a little crazy here, Connor.
Yeah.
Might even get a release date for Wolverine.
I think so too. Yeah, I think it's coming out this year, and they know it's coming out.
I think there's a chance it's coming out this year. I still attest there's a better chance of Wolverine coming out this year than Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah, but not exactly confident.
Really wish I could super drop Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and counterpick whoever picked Ghost of Yotei.
Jesus Christ.
I think it's time to show off Wolverine. That game's been cooking for too long. We've known about it for too long. We're also well over a year from Spider-Man 2. We're not getting any Spider-Man 2 DLCs.
We've had two different pieces of that game scene. One of them being like investigatory elements where he's like sniffing, scent trails.
Through leaks.
And then melee going on.
Yeah. Which was so early, you did not want...
We have no clue
we should not have seen that.
No.
We should not have seen that, But we're nerds, so we did.
Yeah.
And people are bad. There are bad people out there.
Well, that's not really a problem. More like we just know that when we see that, we're seeing games that could be at any point in time in the development schedule.
Yeah.
And it's hard to judge any game on quality based off that alone.
Marvel's Wolverine feels like a good time. It's a good time to show that off. I do believe it's coming this year. I think we get a deeper dive into Death Stranding 2 here. With a hard date. I believe Death Stranding 2 is a lock for this year. Easy lock for this year.
Was it already confirmed?
It's just got a 2025 year on it.
I see.
But makes sense. Death Stranding 1 was 2019, and sure, Kojima did some movie stuff in between, but, you're going to tell me it's going to take more than 6 years to put out a sequel to this fucking game? Where you're just walking around?
Good.
Just walking around. Fucking packages.
Maybe it's not that much of an improvement.
Holding your triggers, keeping your balance.
What if it's not an improvement?
All you got to do is make a new map. 20 hours of fucking cutscenes.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah. Listen, Death Stranding is a game where I skip a lot of cutscenes. A lot of them. Listen, how many times do I need Conan O'Brien telling me I did him a huge favor? Thanks for bringing him out. I don't need to see you, Conan O'Brien. Thank you very much.
Funny guy, though.
Not in Death Stranding. It's just his face.
Oh.
It's not even his voice.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's very weird.
There's a lot. Sam Lake is in that game. Jeff Keighley's in that game. A couple other notable actors are in that game. Just their faces, though.
Well, with that being said...
Troy Baker's really great in that game. I really wish you didn't take it out of the running, man. That's a great game.
2 Kojima games?
Back to 3 Kojima games
back
to back. No, wait, because Phil's in the middle. So never mind. Yeah, 2 Kojima games back to back. Listen, we would have had his absolute best work, and then, one of the pretty good ones. Pretty good. It's all right.
I wouldn't want that.
What are we talking about?
Right now.
PlayStation State of Play.
Correct. Beyond Wolverine, I'm struggling to think of what they're really going to come out with, because there's what else is there?
Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
Update of some kind, I think is a pretty good chance in there. Metal Gear Delta, Snake Eater. Lock that in. Getting getting a nice trailer. Really,
Short one.
Probably pretty, a minute or two, couple minute long trailer with a release date, a hard date. It's going to be first half of this year, easy. We had previews in November, hands-on previews in November.
Yeah.
That game's coming in the next, 2 months. Maybe not that much, but soon. I'm trying to think of another third-party thing. Maybe like a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Something's happening there or something. No, we already have the PC launch of that, so probably nothing Final Fantasy related. Oh! Resident Evil 9.
You say that. That's speculation.
Resident Evil 9. Announced probably they're gonna give a window. It's probably gonna say 2025. Whether it actually happens or not, who knows?
You know what I think they're going to do? I think they're going to do a Resident Evil remake. Of what? I do not know.
I don't think it's time for that yet. And we already know Resident Evil 9 is coming with an open world type thing going on,
That's true.
So on and so forth. So yeah, it's just not time for a remake now. I would rather a remake. I like the remakes more than the other stuff, but I'm also open to just Resident Evil 9 showing me what else Resident Evil is capable of. We've seen Resident Evil in a lot of different forms. I love Resident Evil. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil. I love when they switch it up, when they went from asymmetric to third person to first person. It was all great stuff. Every time Resident Evil switches up the formula, it's usually a pretty good game.
Well, you talk about Metal Gear. What if they announce the next part of that collection that people have been interested in?
Too early for that. You get Delta out the door, and then they say that they want for collection volume. They say collection volume 2 is happening. We'll see. And when it happens, they say they want to put in a lot of work. And MGS4 is going to require a lot of work.
Yeah.
That goddamn cell processor. Fucking son of a bitch.
I'm really struggling because there's not a lot I think of I'm waiting for Sony to talk about so-and-so game. I'm getting to the point where I'm having to speculate about.
I think we're hitting the big things. There's probably some third-party deals that we don't know about. Ninja Gaiden 4, maybe? I don't fucking know.
I think you're going to have something similar to the Microsoft Direct in the sense of it's going to be what's coming out now. What's this year slated? Whereas Microsoft had a lot more in the oven. You're just waiting for when they announce it.
Yeah.
This Direct has the potential for taking us out of completely by surprise with what they show. Because Directs are usually longer too, aren't they? There can be upwards of 40 minutes of just
state of
game by game.
State of plays usually lasts about 25 minutes.
Yeah, never mind. Shorter ones.
But I fully you're right. The Xbox Direct's 40 minutes, but the state of play is usually in the 20-ish minute range. I fully expect Metal Gear Delta, Death Stranding 2. I'm hopeful for Wolverine, and I would not be surprised to see Resident Evil 9 here. That's 4. That's plenty enough. And then you sprinkle some Helldivers 2 in there somewhere.
Officially coming out with the Illuminate.
Well, they're out again now. I don't know.
They are?
I don't know why they did that little test run thing and then pulled them back or whatever. But a new season of Helldivers on the horizon or whatever, new big push or something like that. Not for immediate release, but for hey, we are coming with a big update in 3 months.
Which to that end, I feel like whatever next big update they would do is a new enemy faction. Because
no, not again.
No, down the line, the next big unveiling.
I don't think you touch. I don't think you touch that for 9 months. Easily.
Yeah, that's true.
But feed into the Illuminate. We just got the Illuminate. Let's feed into that. Let's have fun with that.
Maybe in that case, I think
just
more enemy variety.
I don't even think that. I think you're doing way too much. You're doing way too much. More vehicles, more guns, more skins. PlayStation centric. They were kind of testing the waters with the Killzone, the Hellgas and stuff. PlayStation centric Helldiver costumes in some form or fashion. Here's a fucking, I don't know, Ratchet and Clank inspired Helldiver. Here's Resistance inspired Helldiver, Infamous inspired Helldivers. I would say Last of Us, but what the fuck does that look like?
With those things, it's
oh, Last of Us, and you get clicker helmets. The helmets look like clickers. That's fucking dope.
But as cool as that stuff is, I feel like that wouldn't be what they would come to it with the Direct. If they're gonna bring Helldivers, they're not just gonna be like,
you just gave us a fucking enemy thing.
What? No, but if they're gonna come to us, they're not gonna come with us just you got new skins.
You're also overblowing what I'm saying. Helldivers 2 is coming. Helldivers 2 is gonna bring something small.
Yeah, I know, but at that point,
and this is gonna be a cool 2-minute max, not even 2-minute trailer of Helldivers 2 coming soon, and that's it. And it's not gonna be this big thing.
Mm-hmm. No, it might be a bigger thing when they do their fun little skits. People love those fun feed into the whole entire feel of the game.
Just did that.
They always do that.
Sure. But like when you have two examples of them doing it, they did it at launch and then they did it at the Game Awards. Like,
So
you think it's gonna happen again? It's not gonna happen again.
the direct, baby. Time
Why?
to do
When
it.
you could just do it at SGF in another 4 months.
Because SGF is a bunch of other things, whereas the direct is only a couple things, so you get more attention on it.
It's also a state of play.
State of play. They have these stupid fucking names.
There's a lot of stupid names, but this is pretty simple. And you and I are trying to have some level of intelligent conversation about all this industry stuff.
Yes.
So let's at least call them what they're called.
Direct's the best named one so far. I would say that. Just like direct. It's direct. No, one word. State of play. Like play state. Just say play state. Better.
No, state of play.
No, play state's better.
Play state is not better.
Play state's better. It rolls off the tongue way better.
Absolutely not. State of play is way better. You're insane.
Play state.
Play
PlayStation,
state?
play state, easy.
No, absolutely
already in the same.
That's the
like,
same. It's the
vernacular.
same joke. It's state of play. Here's the state of PlayStation.
So I had the of. Why'd you do play state?
Because that doesn't sell what's happening here. I'm sure some marketing head was in the thing. I'm sure they had this argument, this exact argument. It probably happened behind closed doors, and then the better choice won.
You only think it's the better choice because you have no alternative. So your
Quick hype
scope
check.
is limited.
Quick hype check. Are you excited about Metal Gear Delta?
No.
Really?
I don't give that much of a care. Solely because I just played the original. And
Yeah.
so it's also like,
I mean, you did Silent Hill 2 in preparation for Silent Hill 2. You were excited about Silent Hill 2.
I did. Silent Hill 2.
Game's gonna be better than that game. You realize that, right?
Yeah, but that's because the base game is better. Not because not because the DLC. Not because this is like, oh, this is a remake that's like doing crazy shit to it. I just don't get excited for
Excited to crouch walk?
Yeah. I did that in 5. I'll do it here. It'll be like, hey, I feel like that game will become a lot easier with doing more 5 similar to 5 gameplay.
They're saying that they're updating the enemy AI to be more advanced and stuff. So I've seen some clips where they kind of like can spot you around corners where they couldn't before. Now it's still in like a realistic I did get caught there. But like those old games, a little bit of jank of like I'm kind of abusing the AI here because like they should be able to see me, but they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're gonna improve upon that stuff, and we'll see. I still believe, Connor, in my heart, in my hope of hopes, right? And this is a bit of a reach. I believe first playthrough, it's gonna be Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, no problem, nothing changed, 1-to-1 remake, right? Here's some quality of life updates to make everybody happier, right? New Game Plus, they're gonna do something to that. Something's going to change. It's not going to be just more. It's not going to be more camouflages. It's just going to be a new way to play the game. New mode, invisible enemies. I don't know. A randomizer. Oh god, a randomizer for that would go so fucking hard. I fucking love randomizer. Something's going to be in that game, Connor.
Counterpoint.
A mode where they restrict your inventory, where you're just down to a pistol or some shit.
You think in that frame of mind, because you're thinking this is what Kojima would do. This is Konami here. They want to make money. They're not trying to break mold.
I mean, Square Enix did it with Capcom did it with Resident Evil 1 remake.
I would give Capcom way more creative what's the word? Respect than I would Konami as a general thing.
You can tell me it took all these years to remake Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater and all I get is a visual upgrade and a crouch walk?
Are you going to buy it?
Yes!
That's all they give a shit about.
Oh, there's got to be more.
The people who make it don't, but...
And the people who made it worked directly under Kojima. They know what Kojima would do. And how much work really is it to just put in an extra game mode?
You have to find out.
Good amount of work. It's a solid amount of work. It's a lot of work. But, how boring is that to just 1-to-1? Because Snake Eater still plays fine, even with a modern lens on it of for today, Snake Eater plays fine. It's entirely playable and enjoyable the way it is right now. So how fucking lame is it? The shooting shoots like Phantom Pain and now you can crouch walk and the camouflage system is better. Okay? All right. What else you got for me?
Hey, you'll like it if they do that, and they know everyone else will like it. So the winning method by their measures.
I'm of the camp. I miss the fucking piss filter. I see the game now with the new fancy character models and shit, and I look at that and I go, that looks weird.
No piss.
No piss. Put
Yeah.
some piss on my goddamn screen.
Yeah, it's missing that. It added to the character and the visual.
It looks
striking.
too realistic now. And so the campiness of it, I'm like, how are you going to balance the realism and the campiness? You know, like fucking Snake Eater doesn't look real, and they know it doesn't look real, so they're like, fucking, who cares if dentures fly out of the mouths of old men?
You can still easily do that with live action stuff.
But it would look weird. It would look weird.
It already looked weird to begin with.
I don't know what you're talking
Not in a
about.
bad way, but it looked weird.
Right, this is a long podcast.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us know down in the comments below what you expect the February state of play. Is play state as terrible as I believe it is? Connor's an idiot. And make sure you drop down in the comments below. But stick around for that MGS3 review starting in just a few moments. But until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Adios.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Game Club and your review for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-hosts. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
I'm not going to warrant that with a response because you're not deserving of it.
That is a
This
response.
podcast.
That is innately a response.
I mean-
also, why? Why are you coming off so... I don't understand why he's
If you
becoming
didn't
so
validate with a
aggressive.
response, you would have just. All you would have had to do.
Say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
It's me. Hello.
Hello.
Hello to the chat.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Nowser. No username left. Funny.
no username was left. There you go. Shout out in the chat. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is your monthly video game book club podcast in which me and the gentleman play a game in the background during the course of a month. And at the beginning of each new month, we come and review it for your pleasure. You can watch us review everything live over at twitch.tv/TwoPennyGames, much like Big Boss M1911, and no username was left. Hopefully Big Boss is still here because we had a lot of prep work to do. But if you'd missed the live stream, you can, of course, catch us over at youtube.com/@TwoPennyGames, where this is either its own standalone review/episode that you can check out, and full playlist for the entire series is in the description below, by the way, or it is attached to the Two Penny Gamescast for whatever week of the Two Penny Gamescast we're at, you know? But you're likely just catching the standalone review. Hello, welcome. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below where or what you think about Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid in general. And when we get to ranking at the end of this episode, it amongst the other 31 games still or currently in the list, where it goes and where you would wish it had gone.
This is the 32nd episode of the Two Penny Game Club.
Very exciting times.
Big number. Bigger than I would think it would be.
4 weeks away from 3 years doing this.
How do you know these things? What do you look these things up?
There's the thing in the chat, in the Discord chat.
Oh, yeah. Is there?
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, sure there is.
Metal Gear Solid 3 was initially released November 17th, 2004. It sold... Snake Eater itself sold 4 million. Metal Gear Solid 3 accumulatively sold 7.5 million. And then add on, I guess, another 1.2 and 1.3 for the HD collection and Master collection, respectively. However you want to take those numbers is how you take those numbers, you know? With a 90... The original game, Snake Eater, had a 91 on Metacritic. We all played the subsistence version via the Master Collection, which I believe has a 9, or I don't believe, I have the number right here, a 94. Subsistence version, of course, gentlemen, bringing us the controllable 3D camera as opposed to the isometric camera that you would get in the other two games, so on and so forth, which you can still play this game that way. It's
not as good.
Inferior.
It's not as good. I for a long time I was holding out hope that it's still a valid way to play the game. I tried it a few times throughout my playthrough this time. No, just play with the 3D camera. It's so much better.
The map does not lend itself to that way.
The areas are too wide. There's too much information on screen, and also the difficulty of seeing enemies through all the greenery and stuff. Enemies blend in just as much as Snake does.
I think one part that frustrated me with the camera at least was if you were prone in like a hiding place, like being like the grass, you couldn't go outside of
first person view.
First person, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I also like it that way also because you're in the grass. It's hard to see.
I don't like it.
It is what it is.
I'm also playing a video game with people with lightning hands and stuff like that.
For comparison's sake, Metal Gear Solid 2 was a 96 on Metacritic, the highest rated game, and Metal Gear Solid 1 is 94. So the subsistence version on par with the original game.
No username, this is live. I'm reading your chat message right now.
This is live. This is indeed live.
We are recording this live stream.
Gentlemen, I've never been more nervous for one of these in my life.
Why are you nervous?
Yeah, he's a little pussy, is what he is.
Wow.
That's what he
Okay.
is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hold on. No need to be all aggressive. See, now Connor's view is all blue like my view is. Why?
Because
I don't understand.
Dabba-dee-dabba-die.
Yeah,
I don't
fuck
understand. I don't understand cameras and lighting and things. I don't understand it. Color theory. If you've ever listened to any one of these shows before, or any of the times that we've ever talked about Metal Gear or my top 10 games of all time list ever, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is my favorite video game I've ever played. It was my first Metal Gear Solid game. It was my first M-rated game. None of that matters personally to nostalgia-wise. I legitimately think that this is it is my personal favorite game of all time, and I legitimately think it is in that conversation of greatest game of all time, hands down. So what I've got to say here, I've said before, one, and two, I'm just going to rant and rave about how great I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is. So I'm going to switch it up. And Connor, I'm going to start with you this time. I want to know what your opinions of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater are.
A preface. Open your minds. For this entire segment, this entire review, open your minds. Right?
Okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Maybe. I don't know. It
It
depends on what you say. And
I'm a
how
pretty
you back
chill,
it up.
open-minded guy.
I'm not going to let you just have an outrageous statement for the
Yeah.
sake of having an outrageous statement.
So that'll come later.
Okay.
It's not starting right now. Just keep your minds open. But my experience with Metal Gear Solid 3 occurred. I see you getting nervous. Like
I'm fucking nervous.
My experience with Metal Gear Solid 3 came with the Xbox 360 collection of 2 and 3 and Peace Walker.
Oh, I played it the first time.
Oh, it is too. Oh,
Which
yeah, because
which is technically still that's the version you're playing, which is the Blue Point remaster.
Yeah, because they didn't really do the best job for the port. But that doesn't matter for the sake of this review because the game runs perfectly well.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Metal Gear Solid 3. It is so far the culmination of all of the Metal Gears, which is to say 2, that we played up until this point. But with some knowledge I have of even the 5th one, which has some the best gameplay in the franchise. This one, I think, even with that being said, Metal Gear Solid 3 is probably the best stealth game I've... Yeah, it's the best stealth game I played. Definitively. I can say definitively now that I've, decided that it is 3 seconds ago. But the use of camouflage as opposed to traditional hiding behind cover mechanics really does elevate this game beyond what it usually would be at, as well as the environments in which you operate in. Very often stealth games will take place in civilized areas. One of the only exceptions I can think of, funny enough, is Assassin's Creed 3. But the setting taking place in the forest, because you do forest, like a lot of stuff in the forest in 3, don't you?
Yeah, there's a couple of maps.
Stealth in that game is not evolved.
No,
It's literally, it's essentially if the guard is facing you, if you're within a certain range, they can see you. There's no you're in the shadows, right? I mean, sure, you can be in a bale of hay or in what they decide is a stealth area in Assassin's Creed, but it's not like this system in Metal Gear where
centered
you have
around
this, where it's centered around what camouflage you have on,
it's an
what
on
environment
and off
you're in. It is exactly
you're
that.
You're hidden or you're not.
Exactly that for Assassin's Creed. It is a switch that flips on and off.
Okay, that's good to know. So,
whereas this is a slider, like a dimmer switch.
Yeah, and I also remember the forest environments in 3 being pretty barren. Of just they're cool parkour areas that you can go through and you can hunt
bushes,
animals and stuff.
When you said 3, I was like, Metal Gear Solid 3?
No, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. But yeah, the use of a forest setting is not only the best in terms of what Metal Gear has done for its environments, because playing around with those, all the camouflages you have access to varying degrees of success, that also just factors in when you're moving through the environment rather than actively hiding for somebody, because the way the stealth system works is that rather than it be a definitive field of vision that you can see, which is what the past games had been, this one, they can spot you extremely quickly if you're just happening to run past their line of sight. That is helped along by the camouflage system, that it increases the amount of, how quickly they notice you. And so constantly playing around with those camouflage systems means that you're always engaging with the stealth systems rather than just dodging enemy views. Which I guess I can bring my biggest complaint of the game, which this is good that it's my biggest complaint of the game, which is that it has a pretty shit menu system. Pretty bad.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The reason why is in the camouflage system, you have to pause the game and go to a specific system, a specific setting within the menu system to select camouflage and then find what works the best. You can find out easily. You don't have to do trial and error. It'll have a number system that's right next to it that, it depends on which environment you're currently in, so you can quickly realize, oh, this is the best camouflage I can use. But you unnecessarily go into the system that slows down gameplay each and every single time you do it. And a game that constantly wants you to change camouflage and adapt to the situation, you're just putting up an unnecessary roadblock, which I don't know how limited they were in game design. I kept thinking to myself, why can't I just hold down the 2 triggers and select a camouflage quickly from there? And the reason why I was thinking that way is because, Metal Gear Solid has the classic, you select your weapon with the right trigger, left trigger selects your equipment, and you have easy access to it whenever you want. This also comes to be a problem when you're limited to how much you can hold in a single, on your menu system. Whereas in past Metal Gears, you had full access to everything. And it's not like this game has an overabundance in the things you can do, aside from meals, which I'll get into that in a second. So it's I don't really see a reason why they couldn't just put everything on the menu system.
Feeds into the, in terms of like items and weapons, why you can't have everything, feeds into the stamina system. Every item has weight. I know, like, realistically, he is still carrying every single gun on him.
Yes.
But, the idea being you can only have so many on quick access because the pistol is a couple of pounds, the machine gun is a couple of pounds, and that would drain your stamina more.
I just had the thought, in, Warner Brothers cartoons, they have hammer space. Fucking Solid Snake has hammer space, bro.
He does.
He does.
He does.
Pulls that out of his ass. But even so, the issue is that the stamina system, it didn't really seem to really... Because I had a lot of stuff equipped, and I never was like, oh my god, I'm constantly having to do my stamina. The game doesn't really punish you that much for putting a lot of stuff in there.
On normal.
So ultimately, on normal, which is how most people play. So ultimately, it just gets to a point where, why should I be worrying about inventory management? Because even if it does make sense, at the end of the day, to choose the equipment I want to use, I still have to go unnecessarily through the menu system to equip it. So regardless of what systems they put in place to justify doing that, it's just entirely unnecessary. And it's more of just it reduces the quality of play moment to moment. That's the worst thing I could say about this game. Fortunately,
I think for me, the choosing what you have equipped was more or less set it and forget it until you lose all your stuff, and then it was whenever you pick stuff up, it automatically goes into your quick select wheel, and then when I get my stuff back, it then became the annoying thing where it's like, oh, well, now I have to take all this unnecessary stuff out and put all my regular stuff back in.
I will say, in terms of the menus, I agree with you in terms of camouflage, and that's probably the biggest criticism across the board for the game. Just, in general speak.
However we talk about it.
God, you got to dig through these menus a lot to go adjust your camouflage and this, that, and the third. You don't need to change your camouflage as much as you probably think on your first time through. But I understand the feeling of compulsion to go do that, so it does get annoying and drag everything down. Your thing with the item selects, it's just like, well, do you need a survival knife 100% of the time? Or like there are times where sure, the knife is nice. Or do you need a machine gun 100% of the time? No,
But the drag that is brought on by those items was never relevant at all to my experience. And when I was constantly trying to play around with as many weapons as possible, because I got caught a lot, killed a lot of people.
How many people did you kill?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I didn't count.
I killed the game counts for you. I killed 198 people.
Really?
Yeah.
I had to have killed more than that. I was killing a lot.
So, during the fight with Asaro, it'll have everyone come at you. Besides the Cobra unit, there were 3 people.
Yeah, you were not killing people.
There was a lot of I was slaughtering people.
It gave me a number at the end. I don't remember the number, but the only time I was just rapidly killing people was during the Shagohod escape.
Oh yeah.
Where it counts those.
Yeah. I was, and I wasn't killing a bunch of people because I was getting caught all the time. I got caught because I was this playthrough. I was playing around with mechanics and just kind of having fun with it and fucking around. I was also playing on hard, which is more difficult, and like enemies will spot you faster, so you have to be more cautious. But like, you know, I was sneaking up on a lot of people, grabbing them, slicing their throats and so forth. So I sliced so many scientists' throats. There's so many innocent scientists who are not threats to you at all. Dude. Just fucking in the Sorrow River, just fucking, my neck. Like, anyways. Connor, continue. I'm sorry.
I only killed one of those scientist guys.
I killed so many.
Should have killed more.
I killed
a lot
all
of them to sleep.
Yeah, they're scumbag. They're honestly worse than the soldiers because they take a position.
So annoying.
Me?
No, they
are.
So,
yes,
the scientists.
They're in the worst spots.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
I'll say the spot after you talk with Granin.
Yes.
That is probably the most difficult like way to get out. Like that's the most difficult portion of the game to get through without getting caught.
Yes.
Because they are all facing you.
Yes.
And they will all like call that alert immediately on you, especially on higher difficulties. Like they're like, you're not with us. Like immediately. I'm like, fuck. Like, Jesus Christ, leave me alone.
Coming out the door, I didn't even get like the quick question mark thing. They're just immediately like, oh, there's an alarm.
That is the most difficult like spot in the whole game to not get caught in. That in the Eva at the end, but if you know how to manipulate the AI.
No, I didn't get caught at all with Eva.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I like kept getting caught.
In that segment, yeah.
I got caught the first time on the bridge just because I forgot like you have to like use the D-pad to walk slowly behind that one guard on the bridge.
The sneaking whatever they call it.
And that was also the first guy that I killed because I accidentally knocked him off the bridge.
Nice.
Nice. I did that too. But continue onward. The survival mechanics are fun to play around with. You know, they don't really, like I said before, they didn't really impact my experience with the game. Whenever I was low on stamina, I always had something to eat. And if I didn't, I could easily find it. Because the game facilitates that a lot. Which, once again, feeds back into my issue of I get the stamina system, what they were going for. It just becomes kind of insignificant and just more annoying than anything else. But,
so sorry to interrupt. I just have a quick question regarding the stamina system for the resident expert. When Snake eats something multiple times, does he like it more or like it less over time? Because I noticed like a changing thing. Because I remember him, if he doesn't like something, he grows accustomed to it and ends up liking it more.
That might be a thing.
It might be because I feel like with the Russian rations, he got better on it.
Well, no, see, for me, he never said that he liked it. But it would do the same amount of stamina every time. I'm more meaning like if I ate something that he initially said was really good, if I ate it again, it would give me less stamina that time.
Oh, the better tasting the food is, the more stamina is recovered. But if a certain food tastes bad, if you keep on eating it, you start developing an acquired taste for it and could end up liking it.
But it doesn't work in reverse because I thought that's what was happening.
I mean, like things like the instant noodles and the calorie mates, like or just like it, or like some of the snakes or whatever, they'll just give you full stamina. It doesn't matter what level of stamina you're at; you're just at full stamina, 100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but like things like the ration or some of like a rat or a bat or things like that. Like if you're eating that a lot, he does grow to appreciate it more. And like
I definitely noticed that. Rewards. I remember that from the first time we played through it.
Yeah, that is a system that you rang a bell with that one. That I was like, fuck, I think that is the thing in the game. Like shit.
I just wasn't sure for a fact if it went the other way. Right. Continue.
No, that's fine. But yeah, the stealth mechanics, they're fun to play around with. It's more of a nice quirk of the game rather than something I really leave away thinking, wow, this is a survival stealth game. It's still just a stealth game in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I guess this is not a big criticism. I thought I would like, I'll take that back. The nurse saves a lot of those codec conversations, but Signet's not really interesting. Matrix Zero's not really that interesting either. The conversations are a lot less fun than they were in Metal Gear Solid 1, and even 2 to a degree.
I think I agree with you, but I think I know why. Because we love movies and like classic movies.
Yeah.
And she always talks about classic movies. And I think that's why we have more of an affinity to that rather than Sigint or Major Zero.
Well, Mei Ling, correct, from 1. Yeah, I also really liked when she was like, Chinese proverb, let me tell you about it.
Sure.
So I just like when those people in the codec conversation have a gimmick that's at least interesting when you call them. Like you said, though, I like movies, so it was fun to hear her talk about, 1960s movies. And it always was funny with Snake being like, okay, he doesn't care at all because he's just more interested. The only thing he's interested in is sex and eating anything.
Snakes.
Really, and even snakes. But didn't he do that for like always for everything? Guns.
He's obsessed with guns.
It shows itself more in the narrative than it is.
Guns are more important to him than sex.
That's true.
Sex really not that important to him.
You know what? You're right. No, it's not. Yeah. What am I saying? He resisted it more than most people would.
Oh yeah.
He's on a mission. He's focused.
He's the boss. No, fuck. You know what I mean.
The glowing mushrooms recharge your batteries.
Yeah, I know. Right? And you know what? That can lead into the fact that there's funny quirks in this game. Fun little things you can do. A lot of it, I felt like they were more common when. And that might just be my lack of experience with 2 and 1. But I feel like when I was fighting boss fights, there was a lot more interesting things you can do in those fights than you can with other ones. Last week, or I think it was the week before that, we talked about how I fought Volgan, a boss who you have to get behind him to shoot him in the back where he's most vulnerable. Instead, I just took out a handkerchief and put him to sleep. And I rubbed it, but I would run up to it. Did we tell you this, I thought?
No, we didn't tell him.
Oh, yeah, so the way I fought him, I was like, how do you beat him? Because there's a water mechanic that it seemed like you were supposed to do that to take advantage of him, to bring down his shields. It wasn't working. I still don't know what the full effect of that was supposed to be.
I don't either.
Yeah, kind of stupid. But especially because I was rewarded, at least I thought I was, for holding knives up to people's necks, but I guess not.
You are in certain things.
And so, just not for that one.
I think we just didn't understand the mechanic.
Yeah. But I certainly understood the mechanic of using because you have a handkerchief that puts people to sleep. And usually you hold on to people and press it up against their nose, but you can run up and do it to them. I didn't think I would use that, so I had a bunch of them. And when Volgan's boss fight came and I didn't know how to beat him, I was like, fucking handkerchief. And it worked. And it would stun him for a second. He'd go, stop. And so that's why I beat the guy, as I just run up to him, handkerchief him, and I bypassed his entire defense system just by doing that.
That's so funny.
You want to tell me this game's not the greatest fucking video game of all time?
Funny.
Like, what are we doing?
No, I mean, I didn't even think about it, but I guess maybe you could use the sleep cigarettes too, or
I don't think those were.
No, you do, yeah, cigar because you can eject them.
Interesting.
Yeah, it works in a very similar way to the handkerchief, I believe.
I'm curious,
but the handkerchief was more intended for grabbing people and doing
around
that.
And find out.
That's so funny.
Right? Yeah,
no, because all I would do is I would do the classic. Don't equip your weapon so he can't track you with the lightning, and wait for him to go, and then go behind him and shoot him.
Yeah, the weapon part was also a cool one, but. Handkerchief, how many other ways can you beat the bosses in weird ways? I don't know.
I CQC slam him to the ground and then kick him while he's down.
Especially, it was also very funny when I beat him and he goes, and he coughs up a bunch of blood.
He's overdosing from the chemicals, but he's just that's just the cutscene. Is he just vomiting blood because he's losing his life? But
the game is full of fun quirks like that.
Yeah.
The narrative is the most focused a Metal Gear's game has been.
Easily.
It goes into the Metal Gear trap of being way too talkative, but only at the beginning of the game. It immediately stops after you get all of the need-to-know information.
It definitely doesn't stop. It just gets more interesting.
It doesn't stop. It gets to a point after that to where it lends itself well to the story. The Metal Gear Solid quirks seem to be multiplied by 2 in this game, from the weird fucking noises Ocelot makes to the cool system of holding
the campiness. The campiness.
Yes, the campiness. The Kojima style brought into this extra fun level.
That was his signal to get his Ocelot soldiers.
He's an Ocelot. So why would he not do that? The interesting mechanic of holding down R1. A lot of these seem very quirky and just gimmicky when you're talking about them, but in the game they just add to that level of immersion. The narrative.
Sorrow just holding up signs.
Yes, he just holds. He's always there. He's always doing something. What's that fucking guy's deal? I don't know. He looks like a pedophile, but
whoa,
he does.
Whoa,
does he look like a pedophile, Phil?
Totally unnecessary.
All I know is if you break that out as a short, you have to instead of putting pedophile, put Drake.
Yeah. Oh yes,
in the subtitle.
Topical, very topical. But yeah, it has the emotional narrative of Metal Gear Solid games don't overall really hit. They just don't. I'm not like,
say that again. I'm sorry.
The emotional impact of narrative of Metal Gear Solid's narratives don't really hit. You're not like super, dude. I care about Raiden and like
Raiden. Sure, I disagree in the first game, but I can understand how, from a modern perspective, the first game doesn't hit like it used to.
I think So I think it kind of goes on a ramp, right? Like, so the first game, maybe you don't care that much. You're not that invested. I got a little bit invested in like Raiden's relationship with
Rose.
Rose.
That's what I was trying to criticize.
Like I'm sure it's not great, but I think it has a little more emotional resonance than in the first game. And then it peaks here for me.
Yeah. I mean, well, my overall point was that Metal Gear Solid 3 is kind of the same way. In fact, I was hoping that the narrative would hit me harder emotionally, but it really didn't until the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the end does more than most games do.
Okay.
Yeah.
The end of the game, not the end of the Cobra unit.
No. The end of the game.
No,
The end of the game, and honestly, the end as well. His moment of death. You know, with
the pigeon, the parrot.
Yeah, you know what? I take that back because they
Grandpa.
undermine it in that same scene.
Grandpa. You don't like the parrot?
No, not parrots. The denture's busting out more so.
You know.
That's it was like this cool solemn moment, and he's already going to explode, so you're already going to be like, ha, funny, but that would work. But the dentures part's just like, okay.
So funny.
I guess that just didn't really hit for me. But that ending, and particularly the character associated with the weight of that ending is, you know, there's a reason why they consider her one of the best female characters in gaming history, which is the boss. You know, completely, even with knowing what her whole entire deal is, the end of it really not only hits hard, but it does change the entire perspective in, you know, why exactly.
My question is it like, to your point of like,
The past Metal Gears?
Even with this one is like, when it's supposed to hit, it hits. So what is your problem with it not hitting?
Overall, the game, like, from A to B to C, doesn't hit until the ending.
What does that mean, doesn't hit?
Like, the whole bosses-snakes relationship, you're like, you know, yeah, these guys care about each other, but you
You
don't
can bring
really...
the volume down just a touch.
Yeah, you don't really feel it in the ultimate sense. It builds itself because of the fact that they're like, why is she doing what she's doing here? You know, racking your brain for, you know, what her motivations exactly are. And to have them become unveiled as time goes on and to hit you with the ending of...
So I'm confused. Are you just upset that you're not crying in the first 5 minutes?
No, more just like there's nothing that I'm like, I care about these guys. I care about these characters. You know, I want to see what happens to them. I'm really invested in their story. Like,
you didn't care about Eva.
Oh,
That's crazy.
not really. You know, and you know, Snake I did.
Or like even Ocelot. Like I care about Ocelot in
Oh,
this
the
game.
writing's good.
I
The
care
writing's-
about Ocelot more than Eva.
Oh yeah, way more. Definitely. The writing, and this is, I'm saying this from the emotional impact of the game, not the quality of the narrative. The quality of the narrative is consistently great all throughout.
Okay.
It's just, the reason why this game is held up, I think, narratively, is primarily because of that ending more than anything else. Kind of similar to Metal Gear Solid 2 being as, you know, impactful because of what the ending does. This one, it's more on its own merits rather than what happens in the real world. For those of you that know anything about Metal Gear Solid 2, you could probably guess what I'm talking about. But, you know, all this is to say, I enjoyed very much the narrative, and the characters were fun, and once again, quirky. Especially the bosses you fight. The bosses were the best Metal Gear Solid has as a group of bosses.
I would agree with that.
My least favorite, I guess, and this might be because of how I played the game, is the sorrow. I feel like I'm not exactly... Again, that goes to the emotional weight of the game, where the impact of his story and how it intertwines with the boss's story doesn't... It's more just, once again, telling you things rather than making you really care about it. Like when it goes into whole, this was a person he really cared about, and she had to kill her, and it was, she had to kill him, and it was conflicting. You don't really feel that confliction a lot because it's just some character who doesn't really talk all that much and just gives you a moral naysaying about how killing's wrong, and I'm going to make you feel how it's wrong. That's not it. The game doesn't feel like it's talking to me. Once again, I'm only talking in the context of how emotionally resonant is this game, and not that much. It's good from a perspective of looking at the narrative and saying, wow, what's going to happen next? Who is Adam? Who is Eve? Oh, she's Eve. Is she Eve? I don't really know. What's Vulcan
Eva.
doing? What?
She's Eva.
She's Eva, right? Lazy.
Chinese.
That was the other thing as well. I was like, damn. I didn't think it would be
That confused
Chinese.
me in my first playthrough too. And this time I was like, I'm just not going to question it.
They did set it up by saying that they're one of the big, one of the philosophers, one of the three philosophers. Like, yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, they're one. The philosophies are being from the U.S., Russia, and China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that has, I mean,
it's set up
China
China.
doesn't really have anything to do with Eva being Chinese. She's just Chinese.
Yeah, which is why the whole thing with Ava makes sense. If it's like, oh, they were the other people who have a massive interest in the philosopher's legacy.
Take a shot every time he says the name wrong, by the way.
What? The philosopher?
Eve.
Ava.
Ava. Yeah, she's basically Eve for most of the game when you think about it.
Like,
She
I understand
introduced
because it's a
herself as
playoff.
Eva.
It's a playoff of the Adam and Eve thing, yeah. But like, it's Eva. Like,
Yeah, I know.
they
At
say
no
it
point does she
100,000
ever call
times.
herself Eve. She
I know.
Nobody
introduces
ever
herself
says
as
it.
Eva.
Because I'm always thinking in terms of Adam and Eve.
Can I ask? Did you guys? So obviously, like the Ocelot being Adam is like in the post credit thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But when he says his name is Adamska,
no shit.
Did anybody grab that?
Of course, it was like
I'm pretty sure
kidding
I
me?
grabbed that in the first playthrough.
We'd have to go back and look. I have no idea, but I don't.
Pretty sure
I
I
don't
grabbed
know.
that.
Yeah, that was because Eva. And
Yeah.
you go, oh, that must be Eve. So when they said Adamska, it's like, yeah, that's Adam. what do you mean? It's Adam.
Well, because-
No, I'm
It's
asking.
Scott.
No, I understand that
Oh.
it's a simple thing that you can tie together. I'm asking, did you, Connor, when he said Adamska, you go, "Oh, you're Adam."
Yeah, of course, Adam. It's literally like it doesn't even
Like,
sound like a
my
Russian
my
name.
thing is like that's so long ago. You totally forget about Adam as a entity at all.
No, I was always curious about it because they mentioned it, and you never fucking see the guy.
Oh, really?
And it's just like-
yeah, that's a thing that like left my brain as soon as we exit that scene.
Oh, really?
Well, I think it's just you're talking about as a kid or like currently playing through or what?
Kind of hard to
I
say.
mean, I that's a hard thing to say, but like,
I think
because I
it's-
was like
it's-
13 and like forgot about it, but I just don't think that's a question that I don't believe that's a question that most players think about.
I just think,
after hour 3.
I just think the reason it leaves your brain so early is because little prepubescent 13-year-old Tavin is like, oh,
Right, but I can
boobies,
take-
there's boobies on screen.
Right,
but
but
it was
I'm,
Adam. I don't care.
right, but I'm not a victim of limited perspective. So I can take myself out of my own personal perspective, and like, there's 13 hours in between the conversation about Adam and then the reveal of Adam. So like, most people are gonna forget that happened 13 hours ago over the course of however long it took you to play the game. Like, you went to sleep, you came back. Like, there are people who forget the beginning of a movie by the end of the movie. And so when the twist happens at the end of the movie, they go, oh shit, that's right, that did happen, right? Like, I struggle to think, and also like, in context of the scene, you're dealing with the weight of the death of the boss. You're dealing with the excitement of escaping. The oh my god, he's back again. Like, I struggle to understand how you, Connor, go, oh, of course, when he says Adamska, because who the fuck is thinking about Adam?
I think the him saying "oh, of course" is a little like too much. For me, that twist moment in the movie is when he says, "My name is Adamska." That's what's like, oh, he's Adam. It's not, oh, of course he's Adam. For me, that's the moment. That's the twist moment where you
See,
talk
but even
about,
you going, oh, he's Adam, that implies that you're thinking about Adam. I don't think normal people are thinking about Adam.
But that's the thing, is that I'm not thinking about Adam. Is him saying that? It's like, oh yeah, Adam. That's my
Maybe.
takeaway from
I
it.
see what
Maybe.
you're saying. Yeah. But
It's
yeah,
not- for me, it was never. I mean, obviously, my first playthrough, it was never. Oh, so Ocelot's Adam. Duh. It's. Oh my God, Adam.
But then you go back and Adam does show up to the meeting spot. He's just a little late, and he's
Yeah, right.
got a group of guards that he knows you're going to take out.
Back
you
to
know?
it. Yeah.
yeah, slippery bastard.
Slippery bastard.
Yeah, he's
Love that
Ocelot, so frankly, you
Love
should
that
know
Ocelot.
he's a slippery bastard.
always got a double a second thing going on.
Shout out Josh Keaton.
Josh,
Yeah,
Keaton.
he plays Ocelot.
who's like, but like Josh Keaton is what's he done?
Spectacular Spider-Man.
Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I
yeah.
got. I know he's done a bunch of other things, but that's always the one I think
he's
of.
he's a very prolific voice actor.
Story, narrative.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, like that emotion, the emotional weight of that game really hits in the later half. But you're always interested in what exactly is going on, the developments of
Iron Man and Marvel Rivals.
Oh,
yeah.
doing a great, and he's doing an all right RDJ impression in that.
Maybe he's not trying to do that.
Yeah.
Captain America and X-Men '97.
Good for him.
He's in that. Oh, okay.
That's.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know Captain America was in that?
I did not know, yeah.
no, it is like 2 seconds.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
he's Captain America. But yeah, no, whereas there's a lot of Metal Gear games kind of seemed like the narrative, like, twists and really interest comes in at the end as well, where you're like unveiled of, what the secret Kojima thing is here. But I feel like the story beat to story beat in Metal Gear Solid 3 is always interesting. Whether it's, going to the weapons facility, whether it's worrying about all of the betrayal of the Cobra unit, I guess you could call it their betrayal, though they're kind of an independent unit. Betrayal of the boss, more so. And what exactly she's doing, because every single time she comes in, you're questioning of, you're not killing me, you're not doing something else. What's your game here? I know what it is,
The
but
Cobra unit doesn't betray the boss.
yeah, I was saying like
He's
betrays
talking the defection.
the defection. Yeah,
Oh.
But Cobra Unit also isn't American.
yeah. So I'm like, they can't really defect. They're
He-
just
yeah.
they're just a group.
To say, because like the Cobra,
he's just
looks up
tripping
to
over
the
his
boss,
words.
like-
It's not that big of a deal.
But yeah, Vogan's an incredibly good villain. He's just
Great.
Oh my god,
he's intimidating. He's you love to hate him.
He's just so fun.
Yeah, he is. Mm-hmm.
Like all the way down to when you're disguised as Rykov, and
oh my god, yes.
Wait a minute,
you're not. What's his name?
Rykov.
No. But he calls him Ivan.
Ivan.
You're not Ivan.
I wonder why he called him that.
That's his first name.
His first name.
Well, why would he call him Ivan?
Because they're lovers.
They're
Yeah.
lovers
You know?
in the nighttime.
He knows how
gets
big
around.
he knows how big his junk is.
He gets
Now the
around.
question is: Snake's junk too big or too small?
Too small.
I
think
like to
probably
think
too
it's too small.
He's in the water.
Probably too
He's in the cold all the time. Has to be some kind of after effect being in.
I mean,
cold
he's also
environments.
like, I imagine he's pretty nervous.
Oh,
He's just not thinking about it, you know.
No one
and it's
would.
also the question of like, well, is Snake a grower, a shower, or is Big Boss just got a tiny penis?
Mhm.
You know,
compensating for that
Oh.
title.
and then
It's more aerodynamic.
You're right.
he shaved his penis down like he shaved the fucking grip of the pistol.
That's
down.
why they had him jump out of a plane twice. That's what they were doing.
Right. Which, if Big Boss has tiny penis, you know what that means? Liquid, solid, and solid is tiny penis.
Tiny penis.
Tiny
Yeah.
penis.
Yeah.
I believe
Checks
Solidus
out.
has a
Genetics.
tiny penis because he's got steroids, but
Genetics, yeah.
But yeah, where else was I going with this?
Volgan boss fights.
Boss fights are incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Each one have. I honestly like the Fury. I know you're going to say, he's
don't.
not bad.
He's mid.
He's not like
He's the
I
worst
don't think
one.
it's bad, but I just think it's mid. It's a bottom tier Metal Gear boss fight, and I'm talking whole franchise.
yeah. But I still had fun with each and every single one of them.
Sure.
They didn't really seem like they had that much of gimmicks to them because Metal Gear Solid. I always think of it as having like, they have like.
Use the sniper on this one.
Use the sniper on this one, or-
Grenades on this one.
I feel like this game
something.
gives you basically whatever method you choose to do.
Figure
and
it out.
It works just as effectively. And so it is a game that incentivizes you to test things out. I think even more so than the other games do. Whereas those ones, though they have a lot of depth to them, you're not finding it out as much as you are in 3.
I think sort of the formula of it is that they put the gimmick on the boss and not so much on the player now. Whereas it's like, the player needs to use grenades to do this. Here it's, the boss is invisible.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that? The boss has hornets that will make him invulnerable to bullets. So how do you deal with that? This boss you can only hit from behind. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And then giving the player freedom to engage with that in whatever way they want to with those systems.
Yeah.
I think what's kind of fun, at least with like the design of the boss and like the order the bosses and the order in which you fight them, they're kind of 2 bosses in a row where I think most people would use the thermal goggles to like assist them and help them like fight them, being the fear and the end.
Yeah.
And then they follow that up with the fury, which if you're trying to use thermal goggles against the
Hurts
fury,
you.
it hurts you. Exactly. So I think that's kind of fun and how they kind of pace that out.
For sure.
They subverted my expectations of what the thermal goggles would do. I was thinking that.
Thermal goggles really disables the fear entirely, and it's just a shooting range.
I never thought about using that one, did I?
Yeah.
I did it at the end, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's also like I think the thermal goggles live in a place where like you could get it before or after the fear. I forget exactly where you pick them up.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it's pre.
I got them.
I think it's like somewhere in the river or something like that. Or
is it in that corner of the storage area?
I think so. I think it's in that storage area.
I remember I got sent back. Yeah, but I think I found those because I got sent back with the end. Because again, these are cool things the game does where
so fucking good.
With the end, I saved the game. Are you sure you want to do that, Snake? And I immediately, of course, I was like, yeah, I do now. So I saved it. I quit the game. He put me to sleep when I booted the game back up again 2 days later. Cutscene begins with me getting put to sleep by the end. They put you in a jail cell that you got to break out of. Super easy to, but that on the return part from that is when I believe I found the thermal goggles because I'd missed them originally, and it just once again these small little things that aren't ones where you need to play around with the system as much as you might do in Metal Gear Solid 2. You just find them a lot more often by playing through the game naturally.
You can beat the end before that boss fight.
Yes.
This is a famous thing told by the end.
Oh,
You guys probably
right,
know this
right.
or whatever. So like you get the sniper rifle in the river. You hang a left before you get to that cutscene where the end is introduced.
Which I missed.
You hang a left.
No.
Oh, really? Both?
Yeah.
You missed it. Yeah. You got to go grab the sniper rifle, come back, And then there's that whole cutscene where Ocelot does the juggling revolvers for the first time, and the fear wheels the end out. And then as soon as the cutscene ends, bring that sniper out, and you can pop shots at the end real quick. You got to do it fast, because he'll run away. But you pop shots at the end, and you can kill him right there. Also, fun thing, the end explodes like he does, right? And he's in a wheelchair, so the wheel of the wheelchair comes and flies and hits you.
It does.
And you have to move out of the way to where it'll hit you. It's
That's
fucking
funny.
so good.
And you see, you mentioned the revolver part when he's doing his little testing bit.
It's so tense every fucking time.
Yeah, he does that one against Sokolov, and then the other one against Eva, right?
He does it against Sokolov, Eva. He does it a third time. I forget when else he does.
Well, I mean, he juggles it whenever you're doing like the face-off, and you choose which revolver.
Yeah, but
it's
he
not
does
like
it
that.
with the pulling the triggers thing.
Yeah,
does he?
3 times.
It was never tense to me. I would describe it as funny each time because he's just fucking with them every time. And he's Ocelot. They're always going to be fine.
He might be my favorite like Metal Gear character.
He might be. Yeah, he gets high up there.
I think this is the one where he really like elevates there. Like this version of him is the best version of him, and it's so good. And it cheats a little bit because he's in all of them. But this is the time, except for maybe Peace Walker, but this is the time where like the characters start building on themselves. And it's really the only character that really does that. Like it's a little bit with Solid Snake. 4 kind of messes up the trajectory of that. It's a little bit with Big Boss. 5 messes up the trajectory of that.
Yeah. Playing this, go on.
And so like Ocelot's the only one where you can track the arc, and it's cool. It's a little demented because he turns like evil as he keeps going, but like
but does he?
It just turns into turns into the best written character in the entire franchise just because he's so consistent.
I think that still is held by the boss because she's only in one game. She's consistently good all throughout.
Yeah,
and then that's it. And it's in the most strong narrative, I believe, of any Metal Gear game, at least so far.
And it's a really magical thing because it retroactively makes character actions cooler. Yeah. So like things like, you guys don't know about this, but Big Boss setting up Outer Heaven in Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 like is a direct response to that, right? Yeah. And then that just keeps rolling, and the ball just keeps rolling. So generationally, you see that in, it's the boss's will turns into Big Boss's will. Yeah. Because Snake and Solid and Liquid are trying to revive, and Solidus are trying to revive that. And so like you just see this echo effect happen, and it directly correlates with what Boss is talking about in her final monologue. And all that's so fucking well written.
Weird that her stitches become alive.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, that's one where it's just like Japanese.
I'm going to our list, right? Japanese, yes.
Yeah.
Tavin's biggest, I think, issue with our list has been Yakuza 0 over Doom.
True.
He
doesn't like how high we have Yakuza
Portal 2
0.
needs to be
does
quite
not
a bit higher.
You don't talk about it as much, though. You talk more about Yakuza. You might. I'm not denying.
I think Doom upset me because it just got to the point of like, come on, guys, like, what are we talking about?
Well, the same exact reason why a benefit of Yakuza 0 is found here as well, which is the style of the game elevates it to an nth degree than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid, arguably to a greater degree, because those cutscene by cutscene, are always investing me in some way. Whether it's telling me more about, what the fuck's going on with, fictional relations between the U.S. and Soviet Union during this entire scenario, to scenes where Revolver's fucking with people, or Bogan's being a creep, or learning about exactly, these Cobra guys, why do they fight? What do they fight for? I think the only one where we get a definitive answer with that is like the end, and I guess you could say the sorrow, other than just going along with Big Boss. My point is, though, that style of things like the snake going off, it's always so fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time it happens.
But you don't like the dentures.
What? That's because it undermines that moment where it's like, oh, here's the first time with one of these bosses, you're like, oh, he's lived this long life. He's always looked for that final battle that he's, that's going to be a perfect send-off. And here he is. He's finally achieved it, and he's in tune with nature, and he's appreciating how it's all led to this moment.
And then here's a joke.
Yeah, where all the other guys have nothing like that. And so if they did do a joke, I'd be like, ha, funny joke. But this time it's like, well, why'd you have to do that for this one guy?
Do you think that Ocelot... Now, stay with me. Do you think Ocelot owns a mirror?
Go on.
Yes.
Because how would Ocelot, if he knows what he looks like, how does he look at the boss and not be like, are we related?
Yeah.
Funny you should mention that, Phil.
Yeah.
There's a codec conversation in which they heavily hint at, and of course it's talked about in Boss's final monologue a little bit, but it's more overtly mentioned in a codec conversation where Ocelot is the child of the boss and the sorrow.
Yeah.
Which then retroactively makes you go, that's why Liquid possesses him, because he's got this spiritual power from his father going on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say, because
And then Metal Gear Solid 4 fucks it up.
knowing that Ocelot is the boss's child,
Yeah.
like, how does Ocelot not know that?
Hey, you're
'Cause
playing
you
it.
gotta
Because it would
think-
fuck up his story.
Oh,
He's not going to stop and pause and
like,
break because it fucks up his...
You gotta think that the boss knows, right?
Oh, the boss knows. Boss knows everything that's happening. Yeah. There's even a couple of times in cutscenes, if you go in with that information, the boss looks at Ocelot.
Yes.
And is like, got like a little bit of a motherly longing to him, wants to make sure he gets out of here okay. Like, just a little bit there. You have to kind of inference a lot, but if you want to interpret it that way, we can interpret it that way. Phil, I want to jump to you in general opinions, but let's keep it short because we've been talking.
Oh yeah,
that's
exactly what I was going to go into next after that.
Yeah.
I really just want to say that this game, to me, and kind of this franchise, is the type of game where I really have to like try to start playing it. Because I know once I like get into it, I'm gonna want to keep playing it. But as soon as I get away from it, it's so hard for me to come back to it.
Really?
I don't know why that is for me. But as soon as like I'm in it, I'm knocking out like 3 or 4 hours, like if not longer, right? Like, because I just get so tied into it, or like I look at it, and it's just because I've also been playing Sly, but I look at how I can just run around and do nothing. In that game, and I kind of can do the same thing in Snake Eater as well, and that's like, oh, let me just capture all these animals or take all these animals out and see which one Snake likes and which one he doesn't like, right?
Yeah.
Or like,
there's a lot of guards in this area. Let me fuck around with mechanics here.
Exactly.
And see what
happens. Let me sneak up behind this guy, like shake him down, and then like, oh, let me see how long it takes to put someone to sleep by shooting them in the leg, in the body, or the head. Right?
Yes.
Like, and I just, it's such a nice playground, right? It's super fun. I really like the camo system a lot. The only thing that bogs it down we talked about is the menu. I also like
they've shown, not that this matters for this conversation, but that is the thing that is getting the most overhaul in the remake is they are putting it on a quick select button
for Delta.
Yeah, you don't have to enter a full menu for it. I think it's like going to be on the D-pad or something.
Gotcha.
And then you select. It does still, and this is why I think you have to dig in the menus for it in this game, Connor, because it changes the character model. Because it's not like simple skins.
Like there's like
that's not. It's not
it.
like just putting clothes on or changing. Like it changes a character model. So like there are 50 different character models for Snake in this game. Right?
So they like add a bunch of like if you have like a sandy thing, it adds like texture to it.
Yeah. So it's so even in Delta Remake, when you select your camouflage, because it's on a quick select menu like you're asking, the screen still wipes and then comes back and you have the camo. It's gonna be a lot faster in Delta, but that is a thing that is it. Codec call is also going to be overhauled in that way as well, which I don't know how I feel about that.
One thing that kind of messes me up with the menu for selecting camo is like every single time without fail, when I go to camouflage, I'll start with the face by mistake.
Select face first, yeah. If you just switch those
I
two,
just wished it was switched. Yeah.
I understand the logic of putting face first because it's on the top.
Heads at the top, bodies at the bottom, obviously. But
you're going into that camouflage because there's so many more camouflages.
Right.
And it's the majority of, like, the face only adds or subtracts.
Like five maybe 10.
Maybe 15. Maybe 15. Just depending on the camouflage that you're using.
Me playing through this game, my second time overall playing through the game, I wanted to play it a lot differently this time. So in the first game, we talked about a little bit how being my first experience with the game, I kind of was just a little, not bloodthirsty is the wrong way, but I just didn't care about not killing. And so in this one, I tried my best to like not kill where I could. And in doing that, I was collecting all the camos in the game, and that kind of really helped me dig into the camo system in general. And I was really playing with all the different camos, and the camo you get from the fear, right? The spider camo. I put it on, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like good literally everywhere. What's the drawback on this? And then I see my hunger go like super fucking fast. It's like, okay, I'm not going to use this. This sucks. I'm not going to do that. And so kind of my favorite camo, like in a section, and it really improved this section for me as opposed to how I felt about it my first playthrough. The section after, is it after the ladder, where you're on the mountaintop?
The mountains, yeah.
That section for me became like one of my favorite parts of the game.
I love it too.
Like just playing through it, and I remember hating it, or like really not liking it my first playthrough. I don't know, hate may be a strong word, but because I had the animal camo from Ocelot, and that camo is so fucking good in that area, and I was literally just like, I would be crouched, and I think I was at like 65-70% in that area with my face. I was like, dude, I can literally just sit here and people are walking by and not seeing me. I'm like, that's insane. And so it did the thing where I was playing, because if you don't destroy the helicopter, it'll just kind of keep cycling and coming through. And so it became a really fun game of almost like red light, green light. Where I would go through this area with the animal camo, and I think it was like the desert camo I had on my face.
Desert tiger.
There's also, it's worth saying, there is also a desert and a chocolate chips camouflage, which both work equally well in that place.
Which I also got both of those. But I would go through, and laying down, I was literally, I don't know if it was 95, but I was 90% camouflaged with those two things on. And so I would jump up, go a little bit, I would hear the helicopter go, and so I'd drop down, right? And wait for it to pass, get to a certain spot, get back up, keep going, take out guards, putting them to sleep every once in a while, anytime I would see real quick. And so it became a really like fun pacing to it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was very, very neat. And I just really enjoyed my time playing through this game. Like I remember liking it a lot playing through back in the day, but it just on another level this time. And I think I mentioned it earlier, kind of my set and forget kind of lineup of things. I really only had like 4 or 5 things in my weapon wheel.
Yeah.
It was like my knife, my main, like the killing pistol, which I would use for like animals and stuff like that.
Fair.
They're far away. Or like if I was also shooting keratin frogs. So I would use it on that. And then
just for like if you saw one, you'd shoot it.
If I saw one, I would shoot it.
Yeah.
The only one that I saw that I didn't hit was outside the prison, because I didn't have the single action army, and I didn't bother going back in after I got it.
Didn't have the single action army, or you just didn't have ammo for it?
I didn't have ammo for it. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
And so I just couldn't hit it, because I would try to use the fork and like stab at it from under the desk, and I just couldn't reach it.
How great is the fork?
It's so funny. It's also funny because like if you stab an animal with the fork, it just immediately goes to your hunger, because you just eat it.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, that was the best part about it.
Yeah,
that's why
awesome.
you liked it so much.
Oh my god, it's so
I was crawling underneath. Rat.
It was very, very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the knife, the 2 pistols. If I was like, I wasn't crazy about the Mosin Nagant, like the sleep sniper rifle.
It's fine. It works for what it is.
It's just because it wasn't silenced.
Yeah.
Like
I use it in one part, and it's that first mountain map where if you just like walk backwards a little bit, you pretty much get a full view.
That's so weird. I also used it in the mountain area.
Exactly right there. Yeah, you get
but not in the part you're talking about.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. You basically get a full view of the whole mountain that you're about to climb up, and you can just like pop 3-4 guys right there.
Yeah.
Leaves 2 guys at the end that are around the corner. Very easy to get through.
There was like one guy left. There's like a shack that you kind of come to that's kind of on the right side as you curl around the mountain. There's a guy kind of next to it in like a balcony kind of thing, and there's a keratin frog on the top.
Yes.
And so I you know what I'm talking about?
I know,
so that part of the cover I was kind of like elevated, and so I was like, let me try the Mosin Nagant real quick. And I didn't realize that it wasn't silenced, so I shot him, and then like it did the thing where when I hit him, it did the quick exclamation, but then he passed out. He like went to sleep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, This isn't silenced. I'm just,
Oh, you lucked out.
I'm just not going to use it.
You got lucky.
Yeah. I'm just not going to use it.
You also got to cock it after every shot, which I think
Yeah,
is a very
yeah.
smart mechanic that they've always done with the tranquilizers of like, you can't go crazy with them.
Another weapon that I didn't use last time, at least I don't remember using it my first playthrough, but I used a lot in this playthrough, at least at the very end, where you're on the motorcycle with Eva, is the heavy machine gun.
Oh, I was just about to ask about this.
The light machine gun, rather.
Did you find the M63? Did you use it?
Dude.
It's
so funny.
Good.
And like, let me tell you, like that motorcycle chase area, I remember being like kind of mid on it the first time. It's a lot of fun.
Kojima thought to himself, all right, first time I did this, it was shit. The second time, good.
A lot better. But it was just it's so broken, the mechanic.
That's a sequence I put the camera back on normal mode.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's like hella cinematic. And you spend most of it in first person anyway.
I literally hold the first person
so like the
button
times
down.
where I'm like not shooting at things, I'd like to see a more cinematic camera than
No,
just
the
where do I wanna
entire
put
time
it?
I just held down the first person. And so I would literally go through any kind of magazine, or like in the Vulcan fight with the RPG, the mechanic of not having to reload and just unequipping and re-equipping rapidly. I was doing that so many times. I was like, why is this so fucking broken? Like, this is the most overpowered thing in this game.
They want you to do it, man.
Yeah.
They want you to be like, oh,
and it's just
shit.
so fun.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and say this as quickly as possible so that we can just keep talking about the game in general. When we did the Metal Gear Solid 2 review, I said I don't understand why that formula of game design is not followed more. Of like, this is a map, learn it, love it, master it. Like, experiment with a couple of mechanics and so forth. But like, that is a game and game design that you could see being easily replicatable. And I don't understand why it never is. This game, I don't think you can. Or like, you can, but like, they just nailed it out of the park. This version, that like every other version of this type of game would be derivative. And what I mean by that is like just the continuous like moving through environments and connected to connected, and the way each map is sort of designed and laid out in level design ways is so well crafted. I don't think there's a bad area in the game. Like, I think it's genuinely fun to explore every single map that you enter. And there's always a hidden secret. There's always something to find. And the way all of the systems are layered and work together in tandem, like, this game just, like, you can't name another game that, like, well, maybe like a From Software game or something, but like, it's really hard to name another game where it is constantly rewarding the player for thinking, can I do this? Let me see. And more often than not, it works out, or it creates results that you could have never expected, and so on and so forth. And there's so much detail. There are so many layers. I have played this game upwards of 50 times easily. Like, I might be getting close to 100 playthroughs of this game if I'm not already past it. I discovered something new this time. And there is a gag item in the game where it's a crocodile mask. And you put it on your it's under the items thing. It's not a camouflage thing, but yeah, it's a croc cap that you can get, and it's under your thing. You just put it on and you have croc cap. Generally, I just thought it was a gag item. No, it has a purpose. Yeah. When you are in water, if you crouch while having the croc cap, they think you're a crocodile. Yeah. And so the map after the cave, before you see the end for the first time, where it's the introduction of the dudes on the floating platforms and stuff, that is another red light, green light moment of put the cap on, crouch in the water, they pass by you, get up, move.
See, I didn't even mention that because I thought you already knew about that.
I had no idea about that. I thought it was just a gag item the whole time.
I full on did that.
Yeah. I thought that was the entire purpose of the mask.
It's pretty much the entire purpose. It's for that one section of the game.
If you don't have that, you have to like swim underwater.
You got to swim underwater. You got to equip a camouflage, and that works as well. But you've also got to dive as deep as you can. It's pretty shallow, so it's hard. So you got to move fast, because like even like best camouflage and like diving as deep as you can, passing under that light, because the light also affects your camouflage index. Passing under that light makes the guard go, "What's that?" So if you don't move, you're gonna get caught.
I'm not crazy about swimming in this game.
It's fine. It's functional. It's not like a.
Are you supposed to spam the button to go faster? Okay, because that's what I was doing. I was like, this doesn't feel right all the way. Like,
the weird thing was how often if you would like break up on the water, and it would just kind of like slow down. You'd be like disoriented for a second, and then the camera would change perspective.
Catching your breath.
Yeah, but
it's a weird thing. I think it's something to do with the camera and first person into third. I think in these first 3 Metal Gear games, I think Snake is, from a developer perspective, I think Snake is different in first person. I think he's like a different model, or he doesn't have a model.
Oh yeah. Have you seen those things where like how when people are designing FPS games, they make the hands like really weird.
Yeah, it's to like make it look right for that. I think there's some of that happening here.
I know what you're talking
where
about.
I think you are a different physical being, when
a different entity.
When maybe not so much in first person mode,
right,
but when the game forces you into first person mode. So like if you're crawling through a vent, or in this game crawling through the grass, because you'll also like in the first game, probably limitations of the time, but when you're in a vent, you're invisible. Like, like you just cannot be seen. So I think there's some kind of weird trickery happening there, which is why it takes a second to switch every time you break the surface.
Well, that would make sense, because very often I would go underneath an object to escape guards, and I immediately get under that desk, but I know my whole body isn't. But I'm treated as though my whole body isn't.
So you're a small. You're probably literally just like a small little head.
Yeah,
is
something similar in like Sly Cooper.
If you almost in exactly that way.
I just have to say it, because you were like, the swimming part in Metal Gear Solid 2 is the worst part in that game. The swimming was better than MGS3 swimming.
I disagree.
I never had a problem with that.
That's MGS2's swimming is worse.
I always found that swimming system, the swimming system, to be really easy and fluid, especially as far as those older games go.
Yeah, in 2 I always have the thing of like, fuck, like.
I think it plays better here, but for me it just feels odd. Like it didn't feel like I was doing it the right way, but I just found a way that was working for me. But apparently that was the way it was intended.
Swimming in games is tough. Yeah, like that's just tough to make. I don't think anybody nailed it until the PS4 generation. Like
feels pretty okay in Ratchet.
Yeah, when they give you the fucking jetpack for it.
Oh yeah, before then I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, but like again, like I just think this is a masterclass in design. I think this is Kojima's best game. I think this is his best paced game. In all of the Metal Gears, you get to the end and he just starts ranting to you. And I've said it in the other reviews. He just starts telling you the subtext of the game. Yeah. And that still happens here, but it's like you buy it here.
He tones it down.
He does. He reserves himself. He pulls himself back on it, but he's still doing it. But he does it in a way
more
where
digestible.
It's still rooted in character. It still makes sense. You still believe that conversation's actually happening. It's not like when suddenly Liquid Snake starts talking to you about genetic memes and like the genetic passcode to you're like, what the fuck is going on? Or even worse, when the Colonel literally turns into an AI at the end of 2. It gets it's way better here than it is anywhere else, and he never does it this well ever again, guys.
Infiltrate.
It is always maybe Peace Walker, but there's not a lot of monologues in Peace Walker. But he never does it as well as he does it here.
Peace Walker's also very well stylized in the way it does those cutscenes.
Well, the cutscenes are also shorter, because they have to be, because it's on a handheld and so forth. So there's just a lot of like limitations to Peace Walker that like break away from Kojima-isms, but kind of break away in a good way.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I hear you with the menus, and I agree with them, especially on the cure menu. The cure menu is the one for me where I go, this is wholly unnecessary. I get it. You want to.
It's a fun idea.
I love all the survival gimmicks and stuff, because that's really what they are, Connor. You're right. This is a stealth game. It's not a survival game. Yeah. But it's got survival gimmicks in it. And I love the stamina. I love the eating the wildlife.
I like the stamina too. Food. I just don't think I should say it doesn't. It doesn't feel like like the encumbrance system in Dark Souls, where I'm constantly having to configure it to get to my specifications.
See, and I hate it in games like that, because I think it's too aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I think it's balanced pretty well to where, like, yes, you can ignore it if you want, but you're going to have a much better time if you play into those systems as well. Whereas in Dark Souls or any game with over encumbrance in general, it's just like, all right, why did a fucking pen that I pick up suddenly make me walk slow?
But I think it's the worst in Bethesda games.
Also,
for sure,
Souls games is only with what you have equipped, so that's actually kind of a cool part of the game.
Same thing here.
That's true, but this one, it actually has an impact in terms of how much you have equipped comparative to past games where they didn't do that.
Sure.
And there's no real improvement in terms of having that element in it.
I think also just I hate doing it, and I hate that I'm going to do it for this game. But I think the sort of that playability that we were talking about, where you would enter an area and just go, oh, I want to experiment here.
Oh, okay.
Where, like, if you're playing the game and you know the objective and where to go, like, you are straight shooting through that, and you will never have to open up the food menu ever, because there's enough narrative resets of stats of your health and of your stamina to where you're just like, I never had to eat a snake or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if you're fucking around in the environment, if you're playing each map like you're like, oh, let me see all the nooks and crannies and stuff, and you're playing into that and having fun with that, yeah, you are gonna have to eat stuff. I had to eat stuff this time through. I was playing on hard, so the stamina system's more aggressive.
Yeah.
And it's where, like, there's a lot of really small systems that play into higher difficulties. Connor, I know you're gonna like laugh at me, but I think Metal Gear in general has always been really good at rewarding a player for wanting to up the difficulty or have an easier challenge. Playing it on hard, the enemy is more advanced. They're smarter. They're more aggressive. They can't, like, you have to use all of these systems in tandem to get it to really work. And that's when things like stamina really start to show their genius on hard and above, because simple, small things like running uphill does affect your stamina gauge. Like, that costs more stamina than running downhill or running on a straight plane, right? So you find yourself on extreme difficulty levels and so forth, finding a quicker path through topography in order to reserve some of that stamina to get through as easily as you can. Because, again, you start feeling the effects of stamina drain earlier. So, like, in normal, you don't feel it until it's probably like halfway depleted or whatever. On hard and above, once you get a third, it's like, hey, you better eat something, because this aim is going to start.
You can't aim anything.
The aim is going to start shaking a little bit.
He gets the shakes. He's got to eat something.
Yeah, he's got to eat something. I just think all of that is just fucking genius, and it's a level of, like, game design of, like, engage with it as much as you want to, because we're also not going to be annoying about it. And
I will say another thing is, if you get under half, his stomach will start to growl.
Yeah,
and that can give you away.
I think if you get real close to end, his vision starts going black.
It does,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah. You would know, right?
Because I didn't know during the end fight, I had forgotten that he's tranquilizing you.
Oh, so you're losing stamina.
I was like, oh, I guess this fight, they're introducing the stamina system for a reason.
Yeah, I'm watching him fight the end, and I'm like, man, that stamina's really going down fast, huh? He goes, yeah, I don't know why they're doing that in this area. Like, I'm like, it's not the area, Connor. Look at the cure menu. Fucking riddled. Fucking so many needles.
Knife.
And I think it all accumulates. I agree with you. The progression of boss fights is very, very well designed in this game. From the end on, they just start hitting it, with the exception of the Fury. They just start hitting you banger, 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 banger. And like, each boss fight has a different element to it that you really have to sit down and think about. The first few boss fights are just shootouts. You're shooting at the Fury, or I'm sorry, you're shooting at the Fear, you're shooting at Ocelot, you're shooting at the Pain. But with the end, it's like, pump the brakes, motherfucker, because he's gonna pop you full of fucking tranks, and you're going to lose. Like, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
The Fury, man, you better understand this level quick, because we are gonna punish you if you don't. What's next after that? Vulcan?
Sorrow.
The Sorrow.
Sorrow's more of like a little fun thing.
And then
the Sorrow. This is why I think this game is so fucking brilliant. The Sorrow is the entirety of The Last of Us Part 2 done better in 5 minutes. Like, I don't understand, like, how they nailed that theme of killing, and it's not even the main theme of the game. And they nailed it so much better than what a 20-hour experience could do. And I love The Last of Us Part 2. I think it's one of gaming's greatest examples of narrative and storytelling. I think it has a better story than what we have here.
Evan, that's your number 2.
Yes. But like, I just think that specific theme is done more effectively here because they place it directly with player action. Having you go up or walk through all of the people you killed, how you killed them.
I do think it's kind of silly that even if you do non-lethal for the Cobras, sure, they blow themselves up, but you're not the one that blew them up. So why are they
they actively blow themselves up.
Yeah, why are they in your river?
Because... those are also markers of progress, so you know where you are in the river and so forth.
Yeah.
Game design.
Because you've talked about it with very, very respectively. I want to go back to the whole themes of it, but gameplay function, that part kind of sucks. It's not that good. It's not bad.
Which part?
The Sorrow's whole set. Like,
I mean, yeah, you're walking through water and you're just moving and dodging. Yeah, it's not fun.
But it's also because, like...
But you can also, Connor, skip it. pop your fake death pill as soon as you enter it. Revive pill.
Ah, see, that's
And
cool.
you're back.
Now you're back.
Yeah.
Everything that you go, oh, this part sucks. The game has an answer for.
One thing I will say is, I did mention in the Discord, I didn't mention on the podcast, but
Or drown yourself.
I captured the End's parrot, and I
Nice.
had him, but then you lose all your stuff.
Yeah.
And I never got him back.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then they in the river, the parrot was there. I was like, why is the parrot here? I never killed the parrot.
Somebody did. The I never understood how to pronounce it. The Chuchiniko snake?
Tsuchinoko.
Snake, which is how you get the infinity face paint for the game, which I love that it's a face paint in this one because now you can use stealth and infinite ammo at the same time. Combine that with you mentioned it with the spider a little bit. A lot of those deeper camouflages, like the ones you get from the boss fights and so forth, have bonus attributes to them. And they all do different things. And there's ones that you get for beating the game and, doing certain things throughout the game. So, like, there's a camouflage where, like, your suppressors never wear out. There's a camouflage where you have infinite O2 when you're underwater.
I know the one you get from Volgan, if you put it on, his soldiers won't shoot at you as much in the chase.
They're less likely to shoot at you or engage in combat with you because they get confused, quote unquote. They're the fly camouflage.
Yeah.
You're stinky. So they don't want to come up and hit you melee because you smell.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a bunch of things like that.
The sneaking suit has body armor. You take less damage.
There's one's stamina gauge never goes down. One where your battery never goes down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's one that's just kind of cool. There's a couple of dumb ones, but the pain, it's like, oh, hornets won't attack you, and you go, cool. That's
where am I going to fight hornets again?
That's only useful in the pain. Like I guess if I shoot a hornet's nest that's above me, cool. But when am I going to do that?
Yeah,
I barely did it any time. So.
The only times I can think of is in that first bridge section and then the ocelot fight.
Yeah.
I don't even think there is another hornet's nest in the game.
They're probably like littered throughout the
maybe,
forest.
but you don't use them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fucking adore this game from stem to stern. I think it's the best playing Metal Gear Solid. I think Snake feels his best to control here, even though it is still a little clunky, especially when the topography gets more interesting and you're like trying to crawl and you accidentally crouch and you go, fuck, get back down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think like from stem to stern, like the game is just excellent, like superbly made, and they just don't. It's not even a matter of they don't make them like this anymore. I don't think they can. Like, I think it's just solely like unique in that this is Snake Eater. It's great. You can try and imitate, but you're not going to get close.
In terms of what again? The
overall game design, how the different game systems and mechanics layer on top of each other, the creativity of each answer. There are games that have those things, but I don't think they do them as thoroughly. I think of like Mario Odyssey rewards the player for high skill and rewards and stuff, and you can do some crazy platforming until like
skip
find
a ton of shit,
like 200 coins or skip things and stuff like that. Like that level of game design exists all the time, right? But like I don't think we've seen a game do what Kojima did in 2 and 3 until we get to FromSoft. Like I think that entire PS3, Xbox 360 generation didn't really get there, except for FromSoft.
I'm trying to think of like what I think that there's got to be something else. Can't think of it.
Some Nintendo stuff randomly, yeah. I genuinely, I don't think there's another game that does it to this level until Tears of the Kingdom.
I think that's actually a pretty good point.
Baldur's Gate 3?
I mean, until Tears of the Kingdom. Oh.
Same year.
Baldur's Gate I would kind of put into that, but Baldur's Gate just through the nature of its genre is restricted. I
would argue that, I think Tears of the Kingdom is a better example, but Breath of the Wild, I think, is on that. I think that's the same. I think
that's a conversation for another time, but I disagree.
I was going to ask Connor, I don't know if it's a very like simple control thing, but did you know, how to like crouch and go prone, obviously. Did you know that if you just hold the button while standing, you'll immediately go prone? Yes. Or if you go from prone and hold the button, you'll stand up?
I didn't know that last part. The first part, I remember learning about it kind of near the end. So, didn't really help me.
I think that's kind of neat.
Also, I'm sure I've done this
Basically.
before.
Would
and
make things better.
I'm sure I've done this before, and I probably did it with the last 2 games. But guys, I hopefully if you saved at the end like you should have, I very much urge y'all to go do a New Game Plus run. Not right now, but like whenever you want to, because like this is the best New Game Plus. Yeah, I'm gonna say the best New Game Plus that Metal Gear ever does. And the rewards of having all your camouflages in the early game.
Yeah.
The Patriot is such a fun fucking weapon to use. And then the fun challenge of shooting the Keratins to get the stealth camouflage, getting the Infinity face paint, and then playing it again with those. Fucking around with the tuxedo, which they didn't need to add, but they did, you know? Like it's so fun and rewarding in a way that the others just kind of aren't. 1 is fun because it's like, oh, I can stealth camo my way through it or whatever. 2, that's less interesting because you've done it before. And 2, like, 2's got this weird thing where, like, if you get a certain number of dog tags, suddenly the characters start wearing cool sunglasses.
That's funny.
And you're like, okay, like, all right. All of the, like, extra, like, bonus things, Raiden just wears different colored wigs. So, like, there's a brown wig for infinite ammo. There's an orange wig for something. There's I think a blue wig for infinite oxygen underwater and stuff. And you're like, cool, but I don't care, like, type things. Here, it's literally like, fuck, man. Like, it is literally that experience of, like, your first time through, fuck, I'm scared of everything. I'm on the ground, like, prone. I'm conserving ammo. I'm trying to be stealthy. I'm fumbling my way through it all the way through. And then that New Game Plus is, I'm a superpowered human being. Yeah. And I am fucking you motherfuckers
Becomes
up.
even more of a playground.
I am so stealthy. And that's where you really start fucking around with mechanics and really start seeing the depth of some of those things. Or you actually experience the depth of some of those things. Because you mentioned, Connor, there are things that you don't notice until the final hours of the game. And you go, oh shit, I can do that? Oh, I wish I'd known that all along. Well, now you can. And this is, I think, just the most fun game in this trilogy to play. And I think, with the exception of Phantom Pain, it's just the best playing Metal Gear game. And if
you'll eat your words when 4 come out.
I need a word for video games that's equivalent to inflation, but like with gameplay. You know what I mean? I was trying to play like gameplay evolution of like things like that. Because like if you adjust for the gameplay inflation, this game plays better than Phantom Pain.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I get you. I know what I mean? You mean. Yeah.
Like like this game is just as creative, if not more creative.
Adjusted for inflation, Metal Gear Solid 3 plays better than 5.
I mean, listen, am I crazy here? Am I crazy?
That's funny.
But yeah,
I think the way you can phrase that is like, oh, if I don't even know. I was gonna say like if this game came out now or something like.
Yeah. I also think it's really fun. Yes, the game is exposition heavy. There's a lot of setup in the beginning, and a lot of it's maybe not necessary. Do we need to hear a phone call conversation between President Johnson and Khrushchev? No, we don't need to hear that conversation. I'm glad it's there. I personally like how much Kojima is playing with history here. He's a guy who knows his history, and so he's really fucking with it. But in a way that still makes sense. When I was a kid, and a dumb kid, I thought this was history.
Like, dude,
what?
It's a true story.
This shit's
but
crazy.
Then I hit high school and I went, oh no, that's bullshit.
You're telling me this Russian guy's got lightning powers? What the fuck?
Literally, dude.
It took you till high school?
No, it didn't literally take me till high school. But like, there was a part of me that always thought I didn't fully understand the Cuban Missile Crisis because of this game. This game actively deterred me from understanding the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It's so cool. Dude, stand in front of there. I'm going to get my bicycle and I'm going to hit you with it.
I think I did literally talk to a history teacher at some point, probably in middle school or early middle school or something. I'm young and I'm dumb, all right? Yeah. Where I was like, I did bring up, hey, Turkey had no strategic capabilities at all. So why did we have missiles there in the first place? And the teacher probably went, okay, and moved on.
No, okay, you know what? He probably didn't fucking know either.
He's probably like, I guess? Like, what fucking internet or Fox News interview did you watch to get that?
Bro, I pictured that in a scene of Abbott Elementary.
Okay. Teacher, fucking Greg or Greg?
Greg, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like,
Metal Gear Solid right now? Like,
what?
You know he knows about
Metal Gear Solid. My character breaks the fourth wall too much.
He's funny.
It's fun. No, I love that show, but he does it too much. I'm like, all right.
But like relax. When the fourth wall is like they're
it doesn't need to happen twice every episode.
It's people recording them and doing. It's like, are you seeing this? Like, come on.
Yeah,
let's rank this fucker.
Yeah, All right. Yeah. Listen, I love that game. It's fucking great. I love it so fucking much. Moving on. I didn't prep it because I'm an idiot. A fucking idiot.
You're goofy.
You're missing a title too.
No, I'm not. What am I missing?
Yeah, you're missing the number. The number 21 is supposed to be.
Oh, not this.
21 is supposed to be. No, 20 is supposed to be Shadow of the Colossus. I couldn't know how to carry on the lie.
I was gonna say you really
What are you fucking
really
saying?
he's being stupid.
Are you trying to say we put BioShock?
He was trying to gaslight you.
Yeah, I was trying to lie and make you second guess your list because you've done it. You've been like, oh, I didn't update it, but I couldn't think of like what would I.
Yeah, that would work if I hadn't done it literally yesterday.
He was trying to gaslight you, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess then not. I can.
Oh, I hope Phil looks camera angle.
I look great.
There he is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you may or may not know, we do rank every game we've played in this series. Make sure you check the description down below for the full playlist of the entire franchise or entire series that we've done. Currently, there are 31 games in the list.
You know what we didn't do? We didn't crack beers for this.
We did not. We didn't have beers. I looked.
We don't have any beers.
Damn.
We don't have any beers.
Next time.
Y'all are poverty, dude.
Number 31 is Fable. Number 30, BioShock. Number 29, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 28, Prey. Number 27, Tomb Raider. 26, Alan Wake. 25, Batman Arkham Asylum. 24, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. 23, Halo Combat Evolved. 22, Dead Cells. 21, Shadow of the Colossus. 20, Mario 64. 19, Resident Evil 4. 18, Portal.
Honor.
17, Banjo-Kazooie. 16, Ratchet & Clank. 15, Pokemon Soul Silvers. 14, Severed. 13, Resident Evil. 12, Chrono Trigger. 11, Dishonored. 10, Metal Gear Solid. 9, Shovel Knight. 8, Portal 2. 7, Doom 2016. 6, Yakuza 0. 5, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. 4, Hades. 3, Final Fantasy 7. 2, The Last of Us. 1, God of War Ragnarok.
Hunter took that opportunity to catch up on some sleep.
Yeah, he caught
He's also
a couple
showing
of
the
Z's,
camera how he was balding, so...
Nice.
There you go. Now you know.
Now you
See,
know.
I was doing this and I was thinking I can make this work if I needed to. Like in a very
You
severe
could sleep
situation.
like that?
I could. If,
Wouldn't you rather just put your head on the table?
If I needed to.
I'm back in
whatever
grade
that
school,
is.
you know?
Yeah. You gotta pretend like you're up. Tavin, go first.
You're really gonna make me go first?
Of course
here?
I'm gonna make you go first.
We already know your answer.
Listen. You guys are gonna troll me.
We're the question mark.
You guys are gonna troll me as soon as I turn the question over to you guys. So whatever.
Tavin gets trolled.
This is my favorite video game of all time. I think doing my best to put that aside as much as possible and putting my nostalgia aside, and when I really look at this game as objectively as I can, I genuinely think this is the greatest game we've played up to this point. It's one of the best stories we've played. It's fun, it's charismatic, it's campy. This is one of my favorite cast. I didn't get to touch on that. This is my favorite Metal Gear cast of characters, hands down, period.
Sure.
From the codec calls to the boss fights to the people you meet in the mission. Awesome all the way through. I disagree with your take on the codec people. I love them here. Sigan is the bomb. This is a game that fully encapsulates the medium of video games. It wants you to play it. It takes into consideration how you're playing it. It knows that it's an interactive medium, and it fully encapsulates that. It fully takes advantage of that. And on top of that, it is just constantly rewarding to play and constantly rewarding of player creativity and of player skill and of player, the more the player engages, the more it rewards the player. That is essential in gaming. And on top of that, it's even better on a replay. And the more you play it, the better it gets. It scores points in pretty much every single category for me. Yes, the menus are clunky and annoying to engage with, but I will say they're easy to engage with. You know where you're going. You know where the buttons are taking you. That doesn't always work. A la God of War Ragnarok, those menus suck. Those are terrible menus. Like you never know what you're looking at. It's over-designed and somehow too simple at the same time, and it doesn't seem necessary at all. That's just an example of a game that doesn't do menus right. The menus are done right here, or as well as they can be done for 2004, even though it is a little clunky the number of times that you have to go into the camouflage menu, right? But I just think it's forgivable because the game, I would rather do this than not have the camouflage system. Like, the camouflage system, for me, earns its little bit of annoyance of doing it. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Realistically, you're only using 4 or 5 camouflages. You don't need to go. It would be annoying if you had to go in and look through all of them. But fucking realistically, when are you using the red squares camouflage? Once.
I used it
maybe.
once, yeah.
Yeah, literally. So other than that, when you go into that menu, you ideally know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in grass. I should probably equip the grass one. Hey, I'm pressed up against a tree. I should do the tree bark one.
But again, those actions are ones that bring up the menu really, mainly the tree part, where you're just having to get yourself off the tree, bring up the system, go to that thing, and then do it for a small amount of time.
I only use the tree bark twice. Like
Which I guess
in the game.
I guess I could say is the other issue with the
Tiger
camouflage
Stripe is like the best overall one, right?
It is.
Like, so
early game, yeah.
Like if you're not sure, you're jumping to Tiger Strike to check that one out first.
I guess when we're ranking it, that is a little bit more of a mark against the camouflage system, where you're not engaging with it in its entirety. You're just kind of going to the standout ones, while they also give you tons of them to make you think like you'd use them.
But it's
more.
also fun to have that many.
No, it is. Yeah, it's fun. It's not effective.
Sure. Yeah, but like, now we're in the thing of like, all right, do you just want to play the most optimally? Fine, here, like one camouflage for the whole game. That's how the first two games work.
But it's like fun stuff in the sense that it's kind of gimmicky and you don't mess around with it besides just like looking at it and be like, I can.
But
make
it's also
red
fun
flag.
to mess around with. Why do you have why do you have the white
Oyama?
Oyami and
Oyama?
the other
The
one,
Kabuki theater mask,
the Kabuki
yeah.
theater like face paint,
yeah.
right? That's fun. That's funny to see Snake. In 2004 standards, look like a woman.
Remember when I used that face paint unironically in the boss
fight?
Yeah.
There's at least one moment in the game where every camouflage has a use.
Oh yeah, they do.
Now again, are you going to? Is there a better option? Most of the time, yeah. There's a better.
I just
option.
remember the most emotionally impactful cutscene, and Snake is face painted like a
up,
Kabuki
right?
theater. Yeah,
Which I will
which
say
actually happened in our playthrough.
Was a cool moment because I did in that same moment I was doing the snow camouflage.
Yeah.
And it was a cool contrast when the flowers all changed to red.
Oh, yeah.
You're standing there. It's
Very
especially cool with that skin there.
Yeah.
So Tavin, where are you putting it?
This is number one for me by far. I think this is easily better than the last one, which is already number 5. I think hey, and then from these top 4, like you are talking about heavily like quality video games here, all for different reasons though. And I think Snake Eater checks every box, and the rest of these top 4 check a couple of specific boxes. Whoever wants to go next.
I was
Connor?
sitting on what you were saying, so I was like, okay, I was like questioning it.
You know what? I want Connor to go last. I'm gonna go next. This game is fantastic. It's a really good game. And I look at some of these games on the list, right? And my usual go-to thought, like whether it be a good thought or a bad thought, is typically when I'm ranking head-to-head, I'll be like, oh, how quick am I going to be to like play through this game again? Replayability. You have to think about how valuable that is to like what your opinion is on a game, right? And for that reason, I'm going to put this game the new number 25. I'm just kidding. No, of course not. No, this is the new number 1.
Going all in.
Yes.
New number 1.
Well,
God of War Ragnarok.
In that case, despite Tavin, I'm not putting it at number 1.
Where were you? All right.
He was going to put it at number 1.
Yeah, you were going to put it at number 1.
Well, I said beforehand, thinking caps. Open, expanded mind caps, you might say.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking caps.
Uh-huh.
Since, just thinking's... Anybody can think. Thinking openly.
Right.
Is another thing altogether.
Well, everybody thinks.
Now... Well,
I think.
You don't think?
no, I do not. I think. But I know I don't think. So anyway...
I think you might not think, but I think you do think.
I think I don't know what the hell I'm saying. And...
I can't tell if this conversation is Kojima or Sam Lake.
Neither. But as I was playing through this game, I had an idea of where the position was, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to think about this.
So how far below Yakuza 0 do you think?
Well, the problem is I can't, as a matter of principle, do that. I want it to, believe me. But Metal Gear Solid 2's there and definitively improved it, so I can't piss Tavin off. Honestly, it begins, and Tavin would disagree with me on this.
You know what? You're right. Metal Gear Solid 2 is too high. Put it below Yakuza 0.
Yeah! There's an argument to be made there. But,
no.
Hades, there is an argument to be made. Because you had said before, like, definitively, no.
I think Hades is the only real hurdle here.
Because of gameplay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was going to be my big point. It's like, yeah, that's the hardest, that's the best gameplay here.
In this current top 5, Hades plays the best.
And because of I guess what you were saying before made sense of like, hey, it does all these other elements as a whole better than, Hades, Last of Us, Final Fantasy VII, God of War Ragnarok. In that game, that's where that certainly definitively holds true. When you look at it from a larger scale, yeah, it has to be above that. It becomes a harder conversation when you talk about Final Fantasy VII, because narratively, and I'll tie this with Last of Us, because both those games have a better narrative. I say that because, as I said in my original review, I agree,
Last of Us, I disagree, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's once again because continuously through it, more so with Last of Us, but more continuously, I'm constantly invested in the characters themselves. Are the plot details as investing? No, but it's about character. And as I said before, when your codex partners aren't as great as the past ones were, and as good as the other characters are, Ocelot, Vulcan, they're not a constant source.
You really like Natasha in Metal Gear Solid 1, huh?
Natasha, I never said her. I said Mei Ling. I said the commander.
He doesn't even know who Natasha is.
Natasha is the weapons expert specialist of the first game that you have to actively call to have any type of conversation.
Oh, she was the only one I ever did.
Otherwise, you're not going to see her, and she's lame.
I never called her.
Boring.
She is boring.
Sigan is her, but just way better.
Yeah, I agree. I can agree with that.
Because doesn't Sigan talk to you about animals too, or?
No, that's the doctor. The doctor.
Paramedic we're talking about. Yeah. So if you save, paramedic talks to you about movies, but if you call a paramedic specifically, she'll talk to you about animals and survival
plants,
plants, animals, healing yourself. Sigint will talk to you about camouflage items, weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a great conversation if you call him while you're in a cardboard box.
Well, I never did.
Snake, what are you doing? I'm in a box. Why? I don't know. I just feel at home.
Yeah,
in the box.
But a lot of it comes with the gameplay and the general game design of Metal Gear Solid 3 that would put it above Final Fantasy VII. Once again, you're still with the strong, impactful narrative of The Last of Us and the thinking cap moment, which is God of War Ragnarok. I brought it up in the past. I have. And I'm in agreement with you guys, and I still am in large part, of we cannot change its position in the list because we said it. That's it. We have to we have to have integrity. And I agree, but through this game, I was running up with the issue of okay.
You also got outvoted.
What?
You also got outvoted.
Well, I was not really pushing it as hard. I was more just hey, should we consider this maybe an idea? But I was I understand why. Integrity of the list and all. Before I bring that up though, because that is still important. At the time when I was okay, is this better than The Last of Us? It would end up being in my mind. It cleared God of War Ragnarok because of the previous issue. We kind of idea of some games we would on the list right now we would rank higher than it if given the opportunity to do so. But after when I was playing through the game and of course that emotional ending hit, I was okay, it clears Last of Us to be the new number one. So I would be in that position, which is why it was funny to see Tavin all be in the days leading up. I'm nervous.
Listen,
and
I had a running joke with you where I would randomly just pass you by and be new number one, huh?
Yeah,
new number one.
And
listen, I knew this game was ranking high. No matter what, there's no how can you objectively say this game is not top? It's better than the last one, right? So it has to be top 5.
Yeah.
Period. I was worried if we're going to get past Hades with him. I was worried if I was going to get past Final Fantasy or The Last of Us with you.
I always knew Phil was going to put it number 1 because it's reasonable to say that it is, over the other ones. Hades is the biggest issue, but he would put on. But I know you would be I know you would pump the brakes and say, okay, well, I like it the most, but for all the reasons.
I know that I'm the highest on Hades out of the 3 of us, but
for good reason.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I think Hades has debatably the best gameplay in this list, hands down.
Oh, easily.
I think Doom is probably the only other one that gets close.
It does get close, but
it doesn't get that close to me, though.
It gets pretty close for me.
It gets close, but not to the point where it's hard to think about.
Yeah.
When you think about it, you're
I'm still picking Hades over it, but if in pure gameplay, I'm still picking Hades over it, yeah. But
yes.
All encompassing, all the sliders, I just don't. I objectively don't see, if you're encapsulating all sliders, I don't see how Snake Eater's not number 1.
Yeah, and you can give yourself a little clap, Tavin. You're satisfied.
I also don't know if I ever mentioned it, because I know I talked about how I beat Last of Us for the first time last year, being 2024. But I don't know if I ever stated my opinion on where it should go on this list. Because was this the first or second game?
This was the first game we ever played.
Game you ever played?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then after that, it was Chrono Trigger, and then Resident Evil 4, right?
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 and then Chrono Trigger, I believe.
Oh, because
Chrono Trigger split the difference.
No, because didn't you just... Oh, yeah, no, yeah, because it was one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, because I also go back and I listen to the podcast a lot. Pretty sure it was Last of Us, Resident Evil 4, Chrono Trigger, Dishonored?
Yeah.
Dishonored was the fourth one?
No, that can't be right.
Because I think it was Portal, wasn't it?
I think Portal was 5, I think.
We can always go back and look.
There's a fucking list right here.
I was added in on the fourth one.
Anyways, continue this
That's what I was
conversation.
trying to remember when you joined on.
So, I think number 2 is a solid spot for a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This was the one thing of like, as we continue, if you would go back and do your homework, that I would be totally fine if you like throwing in
if it was
trying to change some voting here,
if
but it would be complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, now having played The Last of Us, sure, like we talk about all the time how though if we had our own individual lists, some things would be different. Like for me, I think Last of Us.
Oh wow.
I think for me right now, if I had a top 3, it would be Metal Gear Solid 3. Hades, Last of Us, Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm. Reasonable. Yeah. All that's at this point you can basically say anything and be.
I think that would be like my top 4.
Yeah.
And then probably, I think I was the lowest of us on FF7.
You were.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, you were.
So, all of this was to say, thinking of integrity again, and it's fine right now. It didn't end up becoming a problem, but my issues still remain, which is God of War Ragnarok, even now, just at number 2. Solely because even though, there's the integrity of, well, we want to stick to our words, but that's a game where I feel like we've definitively, and you've kind of confirmed that as well, it shouldn't be in that position, and it compromises the rest of the integrity of the list when we're solely going to be giving that more bones over Last of Us. And I would argue Final Fantasy VII, but my basic plea is that we lower it below The Last of Us 1. Seeing as how we all definitively kind of agree that's at least a favorite game, but also I would say better, more concise game. And when you get to later down the line, it's easier now that it's no longer the number 1 spot, but you're still running into the problem of, well, how many games are going to be... The Last of Us seems kind of definitively better as time has gone by, and shades have been unveiled that it deserves to be over God of War Ragnarok definitively, and the structure of the list from here on out will lack that integrity solely because of maybe more about stubbornness to change things rather than integrity. And so my plea is that I was going to come in here and say, put it below Final Fantasy VII, but as you said, I think I still have the same strength of my argument to say we should just move it below The Last of Us.
I think I would be okay with the new top 3 being MGS3, Last of Us, God of War Ragnarok.
I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair to say that there is a chance that we were victims of the moment.
Yeah.
With God of War Ragnarok.
Kratos is still the most well-written character in all video games.
Oh yeah,
and I still think Ragnarok is, like Last of Us. Yes, has a better story and narrative than Ragnarok, but not by that much.
I think I agree.
I think the impact of Last of Us narrative was obviously greater, but I attest that Last of Us gameplay has aged extremely poorly, and it's only getting worse as we get further along. And Ragnarok's, I think, you disagree with me on some level, but I do believe those new 2 God of War games walk that great balance of difficult challenge versus ease of play. And it walks that fine line really, really well. I still believe pound for pound God of War Ragnarok is a better game than The Last of Us when encapsulating the entire package, right?
Okay.
I think its side content is superb. I think its design is superb. It looks great. It plays great.
Tavin, you're right. I was talking crazy. But, it stays where it is.
But I will allow a change, Phil, dependent upon you.
No, you've just walked me back.
No, now I have to make an argument, of course.
Okay.
First of all, I feel like I'll go back to emotional weight now that I was going off
Here
that
we go.
about
This guy only caring about three things.
I feel I was mentioned. I should get a rebuttal.
Let me get another word off of the other 200 words I just had.
Yes. My point is, though, the character moments, not just with Ellie and Joel, I'm talking every character, has far more weight than beyond Kratos in God of War Ragnarok.
No.
I think the closest that comes to that is Sindri and the tumultuous stuff that he goes on.
You're only caring when something bad happens to them.
What?
That's my argument against you right now. Is you only supposedly care about Kratos and Sindri here because they go through loss in the game. But
Kratos goes through loss.
To me, I don't even think of fucking Sindri in when I think of moments in that game. I think of Kratos and Atreus in the tent. I think of Freya putting her beef with Kratos to the side and eventually forgiving him. I think of all the Mimir stuff. I think of the
Atreus' journey and learning
journey and growth.
Be self-sufficient.
Though I didn't like that specific section of the game, I did like the relationship between Atreus and Grabota. And the twist with Tyr is a great twist.
Oh yeah.
And rewards the player later on if that player does all the side shit and finds him in the prison.
And the moment with Brock in where he creates the Draupnir spear for Kratos.
Yeah.
But once again, I
concede The Last of Us better. I just don't think it's that much better when we're only speaking this specific category. But when we take game as a whole, I think God of War is better.
Mm-hmm.
God of War also has better level design.
I think the big part of that, you said gameplay kind of has aged with Last of Us. Uh-huh. It's kind of hard for me to say that because I feel like that more rugged gameplay combined with the short length of the game benefits better than basically God of War being bolstered entirely by its weapons rather than the combat feel of the game and the design of bosses. Bosses specifically, like as I've gone by, I'm like, what's a good boss in God of War Ragnarok? And I've decided almost none. Like a lot of them just become very whack and press the square button over and over again and do an easy dodge system.
Teleporting snake.
What? That sucks. Yeah.
That is awesome. What do you mean?
That's what I think about most, where it's like, hey, I'm going to remind you what to do every 5 seconds. And it's just like, it adds to the whole entire idea of like, this game's just like brain dead stupid in terms of how you go through the gameplay. Rather than like the good feeling weapons and how they perform in the game itself. That once that magic goes away, the Draupnir spear holds that up the most because it's put in the story to the point where you're really getting tired of just, okay, this is God of War 2018 combat redone over and over and over again. And you're like, oh, something fresh and new. But it kind of starts going away even then by the end.
But I have to disagree that it's just God of War 2018 combat over and over again because they add so many tweaks to the axe and the blades and how they help you like traverse around the world or the combat arenas rather, and the new abilities that you get with them. I think that helps propel it higher than God of War 2018. I think that helps differentiate it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like. And
I also think enemy design is more varied and better in Ragnarok.
Absolutely. And also the addition of the Draupnir spear just adds another additional layer to all of that. I think it's more than just, oh, I'm doing the same thing I did in God of War 2018. Oh, and then they give me a spear, an extra weapon. But it feels almost like that, not that the Blades of Chaos and that the Leviathan Axe are completely different weapons, but they're like the 1.5 versions of the 2018 versions of those.
It almost feel like
I'm almost curious if you have a personal level of disappointment in Ragnarok because your expectations were for it to exceed 2018 to a level that you don't believe it fully did.
It's more that the combat style is being more repeated nowadays as a result of the popularity of Ragnarok. Most notably, you can see that in Veilguard, which, again, when we saw that alpha footage, it was like, this just looks like less.
Yeah, but that's not as good.
I was going to say, that's also not Ragnarok's fault, or 2018's fault.
Yeah, but it's just it's a gameplay system that doesn't have that much depth to it besides the cool new weapon that it gives you.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I don't think you should count that as a mark against.
Well, but again, I think, yes, it's simple. Yes, you're not doing a lot but I
also do believe the Blades of Chaos are inferior definitively than the first game. They don't feel as satisfying, and I'm part of that.
You're saying they're inferior in Ragnarok than they are in the first
they don't
game?
feel as like they're as effective as much.
More.
I felt like, whereas the first game I was using it, and I feel like it was because it had just that and the axe. They toned it down in this one because they were giving.
Well, I think that's because I'm gonna shoot to enemy variety is your problem here then. Yeah, I would argue you're not respecting the variety of enemies in Ragnarok because God of War 2018 has a couple of enemies and the variants of those are normal, cold, and hot. And so now you have to use those weapons in that order against those. Ragnarok has that, but it doesn't feel like it is as heavily used. It's not as heavily emphasized because they also diversify and do a whole lot more. One, including the Dropnir Spear, but two, also just having a bunch of wacky enemy varieties in there that like you do play with and engage with in different ways.
I'm also pretty sure I used the Blades of Chaos the most in Ragnarok.
I think you were the exception in that.
Blades of Chaos rank low for me every time.
Well, that's just me.
The axe just feels great, and I love the spear. So like my point being, and then also they diversify gameplay by adding Atreus.
That's what I'm playing through next is the PS4 version of Ragnarok now. I've
had it installed on my PlayStation for so fucking long.
Also had it installed forever.
I got to the bears section and I was like, great, and I put it down and it never came back.
Trophies, huh?
I'm full on like after I beat.
Well, I also
Sly
want
2.
to experience again.
After I beat Sly 2, that's what I'm jumping into.
Evan, if you wanted to experience again, you'd play the PS5 version. You want that trophy?
Why? I want the trophies.
I know. That's what you really want.
But if it's the same game,
it is the same game. Yeah. It also, since I'm playing it on PS5, it's
Odin's
run the same.
crows are just in front of my face for 10 seconds longer. Okay, like, when he lays down the axe, I'm gonna be staring at a blank end table for an extra couple of seconds, and then it'll pick back up. All right, that's not a big trade off.
But you're still playing.
My point got lost, and I don't remember it now.
I understand, but you're still playing that version on the PS5. So, it still has the processing.
You're not gonna get the benefits though.
But okay, I just mean it's not.
It's just gonna run as smoothly as that version can run.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, Ragnarok stays. Just the new difference is, MGS3 is number 1, God of War Ragnarok's number 2, and everything else moves down 1.
I might cut that out and just break it out.
Yeah, really?
That was a good conversation.
It was fun. It was a good conversation, but it added an extra 20-something minutes to the
onto our other
already long thing. Connor, I feel you, but I also think just putting Snake Eater at the new number 1 kind of absolves that because now we have a more valid number 1 of greatest games of all time.
Shut up.
Yeah. Now we can put this list out and be like, these are greatest games of all time, and nobody's going to go, God of War, number 1. What the fuck? Because now we go, oh, Snake Eater, number 1. Pretty good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wait, he says that. Pretty good choice. Says
Wrap it up, Jeff Keighley.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your Two Penny Game Club for the month of February. But don't fret, because we, ladies and gentlemen, have to find out what we're playing next month.
Oh, fuck.
I almost forgot.
I remembered right there in that last second. And you see how good that transition was?
Okay. I guessed it. Not last time. The time before.
Okay.
When did you guess it? You guessed Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Let's see. Which was not last time. BioShock was the last one. So, of course, we alternate between choosing a game. Connor, you chose for the month of January. That was Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. But before that, we do the wheel because we alternate months. And so last time we brought the wheel out, we vetoed Final Fantasy VI. We vetoed
Fable 2.
Zelda Breath of the Wild. And we vetoed Fable 2. This time around, you gentlemen gave it to me already. We are going to veto wherever the hell they are. I really wish I did not shuffle these when I did. I really wish I had just kept them in order because I was starting to get the feel of where things were. I also wish there was a button to where I could just organize it by letter.
Yeah.
So we are
Control
vetoing.
F?
I am vetoing. No. Fire. Oh, actually, Connor, maybe it will. Fire Emblem Three Houses, and then Connor, you chose. Oh, look at that.
There
that
we
works
go.
perfectly.
There you go.
Connor, you chose to veto Death Stranding. And
Fuck off,
Phil,
Kojima.
you picked
Fable 2. Oh, no, I didn't.
You couldn't.
I couldn't. What the fuck?
Fable 2 has to stay in the list this time.
I do.
You guys are going to be like, oh, it's not that bad. That's going to have the reaction.
Probably just going to be like, oh, it's better.
BioShock 2.
BioShock 2.
Which I don't know if got added back to the list.
It did.
Not.
You misspelled bio. Oh, wait, nope. You just didn't do it all. Nope. I guess you just took it out.
I remember updating it. I updated.
Maybe it just
Where
didn't
the
take.
fuck are we in this fucking
Yeah, I
screen
know.
now?
Yeah, we can look for it later.
All right, fine.
We'll
You're
just-
right. I don't even need to add it because it's whatever. So we're gonna spin the wheel now.
Oh, by the way, it's gonna be Limbo. I don't know how to tell you.
Oh shit!
Fuck, not close.
Did it go?
You did.
Did it stop?
No, it didn't work.
We're
It
having
reset.
we're having a great time.
Limbo.
We're
It's
having
gonna be
a great
Limbo,
time.
guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Gentlemen, we have
It's not Limbo.
Signalis.
Yes! I've been wanting to play this fucking game for so
I have to
goddamn
say I
long.
own it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, I have it too.
This is like an isometric horror game. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
with apparently a very good plot.
It's got like a nice cartoony art style to it.
No, kind of like, well, yeah, that's true. It's
almost like not anime, like kind of anime, almost like Studio Trigger anime style.
in kind of a way. It's a unique art style.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of Trigger being like, oh, I know who that is. This art clearly would be recognizable for a large many people. I'm so fucking happy about that. I've been
Nice. That's hype.
really wanting to play that game. Nice.
Hype.
Yeah. And the game we don't really.
Interesting.
It's like the phone game. I'm forgetting all of a sudden.
Severed.
No one knows, and then we were like, hey, this is really really good. Wow, this will be that next one.
Great.
Yeah.
Signalis. This along with Severed is like a game of like we're just playing it because one of us likes it or whatever. You know?
I wanted to play
So, ladies and gentlemen, join us back at the beginning of March, and we will have a review for Signalis for you. Until next time, have a great time, and gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Peace.